This is Cybert signing in to Red Alert 3 for the beginning of the lower bracket. This is the CCO qualifier for Gathering Storm. On the left side, rocking the blue, this is Waff the Wolf, an old school player, but an even older school player on the right side with the red. This is Das Dulon. Das Dulon and Waff the Wolf in an elimination match. In years gone by, this would have been possibly the finals of the event. And I have to say big props to both of these folks. Vindies as well. Those are the three that stand out as far as some older players who are maybe a little bit rusty, but still showing up to compete in Gathering Storm. I know there is sometimes a bit of a fear of disappointing. Would have been even funnier if I said that right as the engineer ran out of breath, and it's like, yeah, you mistime things. But I know some players who once were in the top 5 of competition, when they come back, they feel like they often feel like they don't want to ever come back because they don't want to, like, restart, or they don't want to have been great and now be bad. So it's great to see players like Waff the Wolf and Das Dulon to just throwing that to the wind and showing up and competing anyways, because it's super fun to see old school players stepping up to the plate once again, and sometimes they're bringing a little bit of an old school style, sometimes they're just bringing the same thing that we've seen before, but, you know, everybody still does it. You know, sometimes it's them doing the new thing, but it's super great to see new players, old players coming together. And in this case, because of the way the bracket worked out, 2 old school players are duking it out here in the first round of the lower bracket. Imperial Warriors getting some damage done on that oil derrick, but ultimately getting pushed back, and now this double Riptide, which might have a couple of Javelin soldiers inside of it, is pushing forward towards the Empire base. Tengu's coming in for the transform. Decent amount of firepower here. Half health on one of these Riptides. They're going to try to escape out to the water. Can they actually make it? One Riptide is dead for sure. The other one trying to be body blocked, but one Tengu can't body block 2 Riptides. So one Riptide goes down, and the other manages to escape. Huge shout out to Tim and Media Storm for sponsoring this Gathering Storm event, for putting together the prize pool for this entire event, the over $2,000 prize pool for this Red Alert 3 tournament here in the year 2026. As this Tengu takes additional damage, the Javelin Soldier from inside of the walls gets the kill, and the harassment continues as the Apollo takes a lot of damage, but another Tengu will go down. He's still surviving there. He finally goes down, and the Harvester will take a bit of damage. Another Tengu extremely low on health there on the ground, but still alive. The Apollo forms back up onto the front line. One Apollo down, one Tengu as well. And do you try to run home, or do you just try to trade them out and get as much value as you can? There are 2 Vindicators here just waiting to drop their bombs. But as the moments tick on, the timer for being able to transform back into the sky ticks down as well. 2 Tengus remain. Harvesters basically offline for the allied economy. The main base has been mostly shut down. 1 Tengu there in the south. The oil derrick and the 3rd refinery out here at the water still chugging away for Waff the Wolf, though. So he does still have a bit of income, and now he's got a couple of peacekeepers in this building starting to break down the oil derrick of the Empire player. Riptide hanging out near this water expansion. There was a dog there earlier, but now there's a Riptide blocking off that potential 3rd refinery location. And I'm guessing we did have an MCV cell from the Empire player. We can even track down exactly where it was. Okay, maybe we can't track down exactly where it was, but I think it's that shift, that dip into the red there was the chunk of income. So this is all in for Das Dulon. He is not messing around here. He wants to end this game and end it quick. He's going to get a Javelin. He's going to get the Harvester as well. This is a decent amount of damage with multiple Harvesters being shut down all in one go. A Power Plant as well. It's making it difficult for the allied player to keep things moving. He's going to be set back to the Stone Age if he can't deal with these Tengus. They're not going to stop to deal with the barracks. They're instead going to go for another Power Plant. This does, of course, keep multi-gunner turrets off of the field. If you're constantly having to rebuild the power plants, you have a little bit less cash to build those multi-gunner turrets, but they also can't power them as so many Tengus go down one after the other. Every single Tengu gets eliminated and the walls get broken down, but so does the front line of the Empire player. This has bought some time for Tsunami Tanks, but is it enough? Because there are still multiple Vindicators out on the field. There's Javelin Soldiers as well, and Tsunami Tanks alone do not fare well versus those Vindicators when they have time to pick off the Tsunamis one by one. That was a huge number of Tengus just going down in one fell swoop. You can see the spike there for Das Dulon being the Tengus, and then losing quite a few of them. That's not necessarily Waff the Wolf building a bunch of stuff. That is Das Dulon losing a bunch of Tengus to bring the army value to where it was. Apollo's going to be able to get a couple of shots, and there goes a striker. 1,200 bucks down the drain. Not a single shot fired that actually mattered from that striker. Any damage done will be healed up for free by this. And then GG comes out. Das Dulon will tap out of game number one. The old school players clash, and Waff the Wolf gets the first win. And game two will take us to Mers Landing. The clash of the legends of old will continue here on the crashdown site, on the satellite crashdown site of Mers Landing. Das Dulon trying for the all-out aggression, trying for the big win quickly, but in the end, he wasn't quite able to pull it off. Waff the Wolf also, in the end, kind of just won by defending. The fact of Waff the Wolf getting the third refinery up and running, able to mostly defend that. I know there was some harassment from Das Dulon towards that third refinery location, but the fact that Das Dulon had gone for the MCV cell, that Waff the Wolf had been able to defend his third base and then defend against the big Tengu wave that showed up, it just meant that Das Dulon had all of the pressure on him, and Waff the Wolf basically won the game by staying on his half of the map and, you know, just defending. He didn't have to go out and attack. He didn't have to shut down any harvesters or refineries. He didn't even really have to tech up particularly hard. And Dog going to shut down this barracks. Unfortunately for Mr. Das Dulon, he will not get the capture on that oil derrick. Dog going to be getting chased away. Engineer coming in as well. And we have Riptides on the way. Not an airfield first. Okay, the airfield is here. So Das Dulon, if this had been against a airfield first, the Dog... Uh-oh. The bonsai charge, it looks like, will save that engineer. And the run from... Uh-oh. The run from that as well. The run from the engineer will save him as well. Anyways, if that had been airfield first, Das Dulon would have lost that engineer to the Vindicator. But in this case, it's another MCV cell. So once again, Das Dulon is putting the pedal to the metal. He is saying, we are going to go all-out aggression once again. And it looks like this engineer will be able to jump inside that oil derrick. The Vindicator comes in, and not fast enough. The Riptides are what I was keeping my eye on, and they will not be able to save that. And, you know, this Apollo will get a pretty good scout on everything that Das Dulon is doing. There's the big Tengu transform. He did get a couple of extra barracks before he sold off his... Does he only have the one? I think he only has the one barracks right now. He did build, I think, an extra barracks and then deploy it there in his main base. So we will have infantry as well. This is a Tengu infantry all-in. He is moving out with a big cloud of Tengus. 6 Tengus here. He could also be trying to tech up behind this. He's going to be losing 2 right from the get-go. These Apollos are finding a perfect engagement here versus the Tengus, and there's the GG as Waft the Wolf once again defends well. And I mean, he could have tried to fight that one out a little bit longer. Those Tengus were absolutely getting shredded by the Apollos in that situation. But unfortunately for Das Dulon, 3 minutes, 37 seconds, another L for the Empire. And that'll send us to Industrial Strength for game number 3. Currently leading the series with the 2-0. It's, of course, Waft the Wolf. And having some difficulty with these all-ins. You hate to see it. This is Das Dulon. Sometimes it is nice to see all-out aggression, but it has not worked out in these particular cases with Das Dulon. Was hoping to see a bit more back and forth on that Mers landing game. There at least was some wins for the Empire on the Infinity Isle game, but that Harvester is driving a long ways for that refinery location. And that's a bit unfortunate in game 3. Down 0-2 in this series. Waft the Wolf going to be clearing out a bunch of these buildings. Doesn't want any Imperial Warriors to jump inside of these buildings and then be able to... I think a piece of building just got launched into the stratosphere. Yes, it did. And there it's coming back down very gently to rest on the ground. Third refinery coming up nice and quick for Das Dulon, so he will be ahead on income versus his opponent. Walls come up for Waft the Wolf. It was not a cryocopter rush, unless he built one cryocopter and he's hiding it somewhere. But he did go for the barracks opening. At least one barracks, maybe 2 barracks, to get out those Javelin soldiers to take over that oil derrick. And now it's going to be a 3 refinery game for perhaps both players. Waft the Wolf is at least posturing in that direction. And Das Dulon will be able to get a couple of Javelin soldier kills here. He's going to need a lot more than that to take back this series. He's going to need a couple more Javelin soldier kills in this game, and then to follow it up with 2 more wins in a row. So it is a tall order thus far, but he hasn't sold his MCV yet, so we've at least got that going for us. I think this was around the time that he sold his MCV in the previous game. Imperial Warriors actually going to take over that building. He dedicates quite a few Imperial Warriors, but of course that does... Oh, the engineer getting knocked down! The Peacekeeper with the hero play sacrifices himself immediately after. And of course that was not from an MCV cell, but that was a super late Mecha Bay build by the Empire player because he went for the 3rd refinery, because he got that extra engineer. All of the Imperial Warriors as well that go along with it. His Mecha Bay is super delayed compared to how it should be. And he's going for another dojo, another attempt, maybe at this oil derrick in the south. I don't know that this is really worth it at this point. I feel like you got to cut your losses at some point, but maybe he'll also grab the garage in the middle. Maybe he'll be able to make use of that. It's been so long that there is now a cryocopter out on the field, and there just isn't a lot on the Empire side to deal with this. The first harvester that will go down will be this external one over here at the 3rd base location, and that just does not bode well for Das Dulon. An easy kill on that harvester. He can rebuild it, but of course from here he needs defender cores, he needs VXs, he needs some way to shoot up from down on the ground, and he just doesn't have it. Big transform does happen. Apollos are already here, and this is 2 Apollos versus the Tengus. They're getting some good damage off. This is another Apollo showing back up to the fight. The Tengus get shredded, and the Empire's defensive chances disappear in game number 3. Imperial Warriors unable to crack the base in the north, and the GG comes out as Das Dulon will drop out of the Gathering Storm tournament. A big thanks to him for joining the event and playing along Waft the Wolf will advance into the next round. And that will send us to Infinity Isle for a fresh game number 1. Once again, kicking it off on Infinity Isle. And this time on the left side, rocking the red, playing the Empire, it's Darknage. A little bit more of a newer, more familiar player, but on the right side, once again, one of the greats of old, this is Vindies. We're kicking off with some more old school players, at least one old school player, once again here on Infinity Isle, just like the previous match as well. Maybe there will be a little bit more favoring of those older maps rather than some of the newer ones, but we'll see. I feel like Vindies as a player was fairly, embraced the newer maps fairly well. Riptide going to take a little bit of damage. A couple of Javelin Soldiers is the third one. Nope, one Javelin Soldier getting left behind. There might be a second Riptide out on the field, but I feel like over the years, Vindies has been more interested in embracing... Ooh, it's going to be close as the Engineer comes in. The wall will come in as well. It's a guaranteed capture. And the Riptide is a little bit too slow, a little bit too late. It took a chunk of damage in the first round of that exchange, and now an airfield is now up. Riptide going to be coming back in. Remember, this one is loaded up with a decent amount of infantry inside. Burst Drone gets out. Everyone will get sliced down as that bonsai charge turns a little bit awkward as immediately 4 or 5 allied units get sliced and diced, and then they just can't do anything versus the Riptide. Anyways, Vindies was more open to newer and unusual maps than some of the other pro players were. We'll see if that remains true as this Vindicator dies on the deck with 2 Tengus in the sky and Imperial Warriors on the ground. There isn't much hope of a fair fight, but Vindies is getting clobbered here in the first couple of minutes. 2.5 minutes in, he's got almost nothing left on the field. One Riptide, maybe a couple of Peacekeepers or Javs inside of it, but now there's Tengus transforming on top of that Riptide, and he doesn't even have the cash to finish off whatever he's building. The Riptide survives, the Javelin dies, another Apollo gets out onto the skies, but what good is an Apollo versus all this damage? Vindies trounced in game number 1. Infinity Isle is not his friend. GG comes out. Darknage with the all-out aggression, almost entirely infantry-based. There were a couple of Tengus in there, but almost entirely infantry-based, and gets the win. Imperial Warriors and a couple of Tank Busters. Well, looky here. We're on industrial strength for game number 2. Vindies has chosen another classic original 7 map. He's got the walls coming up. I'm going to guess it's no barracks out front at all. So 0 infantry in the early games for Vindies. This might, but doesn't necessarily mean it's a cryo rush. There are a couple of builds that are not cryocopter based that you can go for out of this kind of an opening. Airfield is first, and the MCV is not moving towards the third base location, so it's looking more likely that it is going to be a cryo rush. But technically, okay, now it's guaranteed. There is still a build you can do where the MCV just parks next to the walls, and you're basically using the walls to protect against Imperial Warriors, any kind of early infantry push. This was scouted about as early as it could be, and it was sort of confirmed and double confirmed there. Of course, the nice thing for Darknage is that he will get both of the oil derricks. He gets the cashback bonus, and now comes the art of defense. Many Empire players have fallen to this particular build. Okay, and this is not just a cryo rush. This is a cryo rush with an MCV move, so it's going to be turrets supporting this. It's not just going to be cryocopters. And this is a lot of defensive spending. There are maybe 0 Tengus out on the map at the current moment because all of the cash... Oh, there isn't even a Mecha Bay! I completely missed that. I just thought there was a Mecha Bay in here just off screen. But no, I was kind of expecting it to be there near that refinery. Did not get it. Cryocopter goes down, so this is actually now going terribly. He has to rebuild. I don't think he got out a second cryocopter. No, he did not. He only afforded one cryocopter. So now if he wants a second cryocopter, he needs another airfield. But from this point, I think you just go multi-gunner turrets, and you have this MCV position from outside the wall, and you can turret both of these refineries, or very close to both of these refineries. You might technically not be able to get both of them, but your multi-gunner turrets are, in general, going to win versus the Defender VXs. Maybe not if there's some tank busters nearby as well. Which walls does he want to try and break down? Okay, the tank busters are going to get in on the action as well. The Defender turret is being targeted down, but there goes the multi-gunner turret. Oil derrick will be captured. Engineer nearly gets sniped. A bit of a missed opportunity there by Darknage to send that infantry along a bonsai charge over to that engineer to slice him up. Imperial Warrior could have gotten the kill there, but didn't manage to line it up. Multi-gunner turret is ready. And is it going to be an airfield? What is he building? Okay, it's going to be another barracks down here. I think he might just barely have enough build radius to steal that refinery location. A couple of peacekeepers going to clear out some of these buildings. Mecha Bay finally on the way. The classic 3-minute, 30-second Mecha Bay. You guys all know the build. 3 minutes and 30 seconds. What a crazy timer for a Mecha Bay to be coming along at. There is still quite a few Defender cores. You need the extra power plant to keep that stuff online. And even with that, Darknage is probably not as comfortable on the electricity as he would like to be. But he has survived the early game. He didn't lose a refinery, and he only lost one harvester, which he also killed a cryocopter. So that's a positive exchange for the Empire player in general, just in terms of pure resources. The now advantage for the Allied player is reclaiming that oil derrick and stealing that third refinery location. The barracks is going to potentially deploy, but a Vindicator is here to get the kill. All right, there we go. The barracks does get cleaned up before anything actually gets built, and the garage will be potentially captured by an engineer here. Is there a peacekeeper nearby? No, it's an Apollo in the sky. Refineries continuing to be defended. Another barracks coming out from the Empire player, but the MCV has moved for the Allied player. Where is the MCV? He's headed out to the water location, so this now changes from being an all-in to this is a quote-unquote opener. You know, the classic industrial strength opener where you go for the cryo rush, single cryocopter, single turret into a third base, into a fourth and fifth refinery. Classic build order. Everybody knows it. I think Greg Black wrote the book on that one. As maybe that's not where most players end up going. Garage going to be taking a little bit of damage. Another barracks being established. I appreciate all of the options being created by Darknage. Vindy's is maybe going to have a little bit of a problem. He's floating $3,000 in the bank. Fortunately, he doesn't have his fourth refinery up just yet. He's got more production on the way. I would love to see a naval yard before the fourth refinery. Go for the fourth refinery after the naval yard, sure, but start getting out assault destroyers. I want to see some black hole armor to help anchor this position. He could just go for a straight war factory, but the naval yard is cheaper. He does actually go for the fourth refinery first. He's still floating $2,000 all out, so maybe more cryocopters. Instead of going assault destroyers, you go like 3 or 4 cryocopters. That could be an option. Chopper VXs go for the transform. That's going to be one dead cryocopter. Barely gets clipped on the edge there. Vindy's, he's lost his edge to keep his cryocopters alive. Barracks actually ends up getting sold off, so he produces a bunch of Imperial Warriors, and then Darknage sells it off. This game is at least a lot closer and more back and forth than the previous one. There's the naval yard, and we can go up to a full 5 refineries as well. How do you defend the home base? Well, unfortunately, Vindy's did not think of deploying a harvester there a little bit early so that he could build out his defenses. but this might open up an opportunity. If the main base is empty, we can do the old swapperoo, and Vindies will still be pretty happy with that exchange. Tankbusters clearing out the walls before they go for the more important infrastructure, and Darknage has actually split his army. This is very smart by him to divide and conquer and clean up more buildings and more infrastructure a little bit quicker so that he can actually keep his attack going, because this main base, Vindies is happy to sacrifice that, especially if it means he can clear out Darknage's main base. But I think there was an MCV cell at some point previously, and now one refinery is going to be knocked down. The other refinery is sure to follow in short order, but of course, there's no way for Empire infantry to defend themselves against the aircraft. The Tengus are not anywhere to be seen. The VXs are on the wrong side of the map. So now the tank busters all go down, and the Imperial Warriors have nothing to do. Cryocopter getting rebuilt. This is a lot of tsunami tanks moving forward onto the front line. Double multi-gunner turret is here. There's the black hole armor getting activated. Cryocopter is here as well. Shrink ray comes in. One crush comes through. One tsunami tank is down. There isn't a whole lot of firepower here on the Allied side, but this assault destroyer is buying so much time. That was a free 30 seconds just about that Darknage wasn't able to do anything to break open this base. Tsunami tanks activating their nano deflectors, not able to be very effective on the front line, and this one Imperial Warrior still is managing to attack through the walls, which I think that was from a previous attack command. It looks like it is bugged out a little bit there, and the Cryocopter just goes down, eliminated for nothing. Cleaning up those Cryocopters has given so much breathing room to Darknage over the course of this game. The unfortunate thing is that he hasn't been able to take much away from Vindies. And now Vindies is sitting at an additional refinery down here in the south. He is up to 4 working refineries because of the walls in the north. He can't do anything. Darknage can't do anything about that refinery up there. So he is, he's going to send over a single chopper VX, and that will break down that refinery eventually. Assault destroyer coming in, looking for the crush. Tsunami tanks having to back off for now. Why are these VXs not doing anything? They're sitting over top. The harvester goes down. He could have saved that harvester, and he wouldn't have to rebuild. That's a couple of extra dollars in his pocket. And now the Imperial Warriors rushing forward. The walls have been broken down, and Darknage letting a couple of things slip, but still finding some damage on the other side of the map. 3 refineries working versus 1 plus an oil derrick. It is not looking good for the Empire player, but Darknage technically could still turn this around. He's got his second harvester back up and running. His defense is going to be incredible. Is going to have to be incredible. Absolutely perfection. Let's see if he can pull it off. Black hole armor activates. VX is going down. Apollo swooping in. That's a spy on the front line as 2 tsunami tanks turn tail and they turn coat to the other side. They're now just body blocking for the Allied player, and the tsunami tanks actually outnumber the Empire tsunami tanks very briefly there. The Allied tsunami tanks had the advantage. The old trickster Vindies strikes again as he manages to steal tsunamis for less than they are worth. $1,000 ends up with $2,000 worth of tanks. An absolute killer move there by Vindies. And the other advantage that Vindies has is, as you can see, Cryoblast coming down on top of this refinery on top of the harvester. Might even get the power plant as well. Worth sacrificing the he gets all 3. He gets all 3, and the Vindicator survives as well. I was going to say it's worth sacrificing the Vindicator just for the refinery, but he actually gets all of the targets and he escapes. The opportunity of victory is narrowing by the moment, it seems. But the ability of one player, even if everything else was equal, if they were on equal economy, if they were on equal levels of tech, if one player has support powers, has those top secret protocols, and the other player doesn't, GG by the way, it almost doesn't matter because there's top secret protocols selling your MCV by Darknage and limiting his options in that way cost him so much over the course of the game. At that point, he really was just missing point defense drones. But as the game goes on, he's missing more and more tools in his arsenal. And that was a great comeback by Vindies in the series. He evens things up and puts us at a 1-1 score. We're staying on theme with the original maps from Red Alert 3 here on Battle Base Beta. Opening double barracks, the yellow allies in the north. This is Vindies. Meanwhile, in the south, the purple Empire. This is Darknage. Darknage representing very well in game number 1, but having a tougher time in game number 2. Going for a very fast third refinery in game number 3. So this will be definitely a different style of build for Darknage. We'll see if he's able to pull it off. Very heavy eco focus versus a double barracks opening. And Vindies is actually trying to push down into the base of Darknage. So I'm not sure if he realizes exactly what Darknage is going for, but he does know that Darknage didn't try to claim the middle of the map. He's like, well, if you're not trying to claim the middle of the map, I might be able to take some other advantages as well. One of them going to be knocking down this oil derrick nice and early. Riptide as a follow-up, that's my question for Vindies. No, it is going to be the airfield. So he is not going for the naval yard, he is not going for Riptides and Javelins as an attack combo to follow up that early opening. Third refinery out on the water is safe for now. And does Vindies know he doesn't try to go tier 2? He does pack up his MCV and he is moving on with his life. So he takes over the middle of the map, he kills the oil derrick, he's doing a little bit of poking and prodding, but mainly he's just taking over a bunch of buildings, which is always good for map presence and map awareness, at least temporarily. Forces your opponent to clear out the buildings one by one if they want to reclaim those areas. I feel like these two peacekeepers should just head back to these buildings and take those over as well. Javelin soldier being sent out. Apollo goes for the scout and he sees, okay, yeah, you went for a fast third refinery. You went for now for a naval yard as well. Meanwhile, Vindies on the other side goes for the high ground expansion instead. He's keeping eyes on basically everything that Darknage is doing, even this barracks being deployed over by this southern expansion, and he is going to be able to laser lock it, but he might not be able to escape with the Javelin soldier. Vindicator hanging out nearby. Barracks will be taken down, and then the Javelin jumps inside the building. And it actually did break the attack command for that Imperial Warrior. His bonsai charge runs out just in time. A comedy of errors there, unfortunately, for Darknage. He will not be able to get the easy kill on that Javelin soldier. Instead, he will eventually, I think, kill off the Javelin soldier, but it'll take a moment to actually do it. That's a lot of Tengus. So the plan was get a third refinery and then build a very big army with that third refinery. I wonder where the MCV keeps going to in these games with Darknage. And more importantly, why does he always build just a random engineer along with it? As always, can we actually see? Well, maybe that was where he sold it off. That little second jump towards the purple side. Because, of course, he did have the fast 3 refineries. He is now being matched by the economy of Vindies. And Vindies will, over time, overtake him because of the oil derrick advantage. But, for the current moment, while they're both on 3 refineries, they both did initially get their oil derricks, and then Darknage sold off his MCV. He has a little bit of an income advantage. 1 Tengu traded for 2 Apollos. The Empire player is going to be happy with that trade every single day of the week. He is very, very happy. Tengu's going to be transforming on top of these Javelin soldiers inside of the buildings, and the IFV is going to be getting a couple of shots in as well. How many Tengus will end up going down? It looks like 2, maybe 3 or 4 more. I think all of the bombs dropped on just individual targets, so no bomb splitting for the lower health units. All of the Tengus do manage to clean out the buildings, the Javelin soldiers, and the IFV, but a good number of Tengus went down in the exchange. Yari Minisub camping out on that water location, wants to make sure that the allied player is not taking that expansion. Tengus circling over the main base, looking for their opening, looking for their opportunity. Javelin soldier going to get clobbered by the Tengu as the transform comes in. The harassment will begin. The IFV may be a little bit slow to respond, but can we see some actual Guardian tanks out onto the field? The Vindicators get sniped. One of them in the sky goes down, crashes onto the ground as the Tengus transform, and the Harvesters are about to be blown up. It's soon going to be a one refinery economy for the allied player. Triple Apollo showing up to help fight this out, because eventually the Tengus will transform, and maybe there will be enough Apollos by that point to actually knock them out of the sky. Another IFV shows up, a good option for knocking down the Tengus if they're in the sky. But on the ground, the Tengus have the numbers. Vindy's down to just 1 Harvester, low on cash, overspent because he has had so many Tengus to deal with. The Vindicator actually survives. The Apollo is going to be able to find a favorable engagement here, at least with a couple of these Tengus. Every single Tengu in the sky goes down, and the airfield survives. A big couple of kills there for Vindy's. He has swung the army value a lot closer to even once you subtract the fact that the Apollos can only attack stuff on the ground. The Tengus, or excuse me, only can attack stuff in the sky. The Tengus, on the other hand, going to be fighting it out with the Apollos once again. Another Tengu goes down. Apollo gets pulled off to head home to refuel and rearm. Vindicators ready to drop some more bombs, and these Tengus have only just transformed. This is starting to turn into a very bad situation for the Empire player. He is bleeding far too many units than he really wanted to. He may eventually get this refinery, but it's going to be very costly. Refinery may have to, I guess he doesn't have to cancel the Harvester, but he does need to get out a second Harvester sooner or later. And now the IFV missiles not impacting super accurately now that the Tengu is shrunken. However, the Tengu is also not doing very much, so goodbye to that Tengu. He will crash down onto the refinery, and he does full damage. I thought the shrunken Tengu wouldn't have enough explosion damage to get the kill, but he did indeed. The army has degraded a bit for Darknage, in part because he went tier 2. He's getting VXs, and now he's also rebuilt his MCV. So that is $5 grand worth of Tengus that was not sent to the front line. The harassment will continue. This Defender Corps, I don't think, will be up in time. Well, maybe it will. The Harvester actually is safe because the Cryocopter has backed off, unless there's a Cryo Shot ready to go. But we'll see what Vindy's has planned here. He's just going to nuke one of the defenses and call it a day. Once again, game number 1, super one-sided. Darknage just putting the boot to Vindy's. Games 2 and 3, much closer. A considerably better back and forth from these two players. And Vindy's holding his own even here in game number 3. It looked like he was starting to fall apart. It looked like he was getting overwhelmed. And then too many Tengus lost in too many fights. And now both players are going to kind of equalize and even things out. Vindy's needs to reestablish this refinery in his main base, or potentially take another refinery somewhere else. But he needs to get his economy back online, and he might even need to just accelerate it a little bit to be able to afford some tech upgrades. Oh, the Apollo goes down. The last couple of missiles from that Defender on the water manages to find the kill. The Tengus were out of range, but those last missiles, they hunt from across the map, it seems. MCV back online. Point defense drones will be able to be activated, depending on which top secret protocols Darknage called in, which ones he purchased for himself. MCB back up to the high ground, so he doesn't want to expand any further than this. He's happy with his 3 refineries. This engineer is going to get clobbered. As the Tengus come in, there's the point defense drones. Engineer goes down, IFV goes down. It was a nice attempt by Vindies, but it did not work out. Guardian tank out on the front line. Vindicator's going to be able to get a couple of bombs off, but these Tengus are looking for blood. They're chasing away the IFVs, so the VXs can finish off that tank, but it wasn't actually worth it because the VXs got caught by the Apollos. 2 Apollos swoop in to make that tank a costly price for the Empire player. Transform coming in once again. The double Harvester Harass coming online for Darknage. The double drop of the Tengus, always a good choice for an Empire player. Another Apollo going to be going down, but another Tengu gets eliminated as well. There's the Shrink coming in. As the Tengus go down, so do the Cryocopters and the Vindicators. Another Cryocopter eliminated. Vindies cannot keep his Cryocopters alive. He does not care for them at all. So many allied players are so incredibly careful with their Cryocopters, and Vindies just is not able to keep them around. They keep crashing down out of the sky, and nobody seems to know why. 4th refinery going to be online soon for the Empire player, who, despite all of this, Darknage has actually maintained an eco advantage over his opponent. Okay, maybe not for long, as the Cryoblast is going to be coming in. Gets the Defender, gets the refinery as well. Incredibly frustrating for the Empire player. The one click comes in, and it works well for the allies. I was going to say, because Darknage... Where is he going? He's going up to the high ground. Okay. I thought he cleared out this Javelin Soldier because he was sending the refinery over there. But Darknage, despite the fact that he's technically been down on eco because of the number of refineries and the oil derrick, because he killed off those harvesters, because he killed off this refinery, he's been barely ahead on economy this entire game. And it's only just now swinging closer to the Vindies' favor in terms of per minute, but now that this harvester is online, things should once again go back to being equal. Vindies did go up to tier 3. He's got himself Athena cannons, Mirage tanks out on the field. He can't do it with Cryocopters, so he might as well do it with ground units. Apollo's keeping watch over the battlefield. They've got such incredible vision. It's always good to just send them around for a quick scout of the map. There's going to be the 4th refinery up and running. It says 5 harvesters, but of course there's an extra harvester somewhere on the map. Darknage has created a lot of expenses in terms of building his economy in the last minute or two, so he needs to win this fight. No, he's not even going to have the fight. He sees the artillery coming in, he sees the army moving forward, and Darknage just taps out. We don't get the big last battle of Darknage trying to defend. He just goes, oops, I spent $5,000 on refineries in the last minute. I haven't built any units, so I'm just gonna GG. And okay, I guess we're going to the next game. And that will take us to Liberation Freeze for game number 4. In the north, he is down 1-2. He needs your cheers. This is Darknage. He is the Red Empire. Meanwhile, in the south, rocking the yellow and looking good in these longer games, this is Vindies. Vindies showing that even though he may not be in tip-top shape, he may not be playing the best Red Alert 3 of his life, he can still compete with modern players. Especially in these longer games. Darknage got a very easy win. He kind of made It kind of made Vindies look foolish in that game number 1. It looked like, oh boy, this could be a 3-0 real quick, like 7 minutes for the whole series. But then these games, they go a little bit longer, and Vindies, he's managing to establish himself well in terms of eco. He did that on Industrial Strength. He kind of did it on Battle-Based Beta as well. He tried to, and then the harassment ended up knocking him off of his economic foundation. But he at least got it built, even if he wasn't able to keep it up and running the whole time. And so far, Darknage is 1 for 1 on games that he doesn't sell his MCV, I think, and 0 for 2 on games that he does sell his MCV. And that was, I guess, that's where 10 grand went in the last game. On Battle-Based Beta, he spent 5 grand rebuilding his MCV, and then he spent 5 grand building those 2 refineries right near the end that ended up costing him the game, sort of. And the Bonsai Charge, no! It's fast! It's too fast! The Bonsai Charge gets the kill. The Tengu escapes Darknage with a fantastic first 2.5 minutes here. He's going to force the explosion and killing off this oil derrick, which, of course, he got an extra couple of credits from because Vindies was trying to recapture it. So if Vindies had just gone for the laser lock immediately as fast as possible, then Darknage would have gotten a few less dollars out of that. It might not have even been worth it. But in this case, he kills the engineer, so it's absolutely worth it. He gets the oil derrick for a minute or 2, and he also now is going to be able to jump on these riptides. The Tengus save their own oil derrick, so Darknage maintains that eco advantage over his opponent. He might actually get one of these riptides. It is low on health, down to the last few percent, and there's going to be a couple of Javelin soldiers to body block. Vindicator comes in for this kill as well. Bonsai Charge will not come through. The Imperial Warrior is not able to slice those Javs in half. Airfield for the repairs. MCV is moved for the 3rd refinery location for the allied player. The playbook is feeling similar to those previous games, but the difference is the oil derricks have kind of swapped. On Battle-Based Beta, Vindies was able to very easily knock down his opponent's oil derrick. On Industrial Strength, he was able to at least claim his own oil derrick. And okay, now he's cleared out both of them, so no more oil derricks for anyone. The oil derricks are all gone. Only real economy this time. Only real refineries with working harvesters actually counts for this game. Apollo's perhaps going for a little bit of a scout there. Won't be returning home. That's a lot of Tengus out on the field. The MCV is still around so far. He's moving towards the high ground. He might be looking for an expansion up there. Darknage is like doubling the army supply of Vindies when you subtract the Apollos from Vindies' army supply. Tengu and an Apollo, it looks like, going down in the exchange. And this is going to be a big transform on top of the refinery, on top of the harvester. He's going to get the harvester for free. The refinery is going to cost a couple of these Tengus, but at least the Riptides were not in position, and the Javelin soldiers can't get in on the fight. Apollo's a little bit here to provide overwatch. They will get a couple of shots off. This is 3 Apollos, so that's definitely a decent amount of firepower for the allied player, but the Javelins, once again, the Javs are not able to get in on the fight. The Apollo's now going to be going down, traded back for another Tengu as the Apollo shows up. That's not a fair fight. That's way too many Tengus. Still goes 1 for 1 because of the low health bars. Javelin soldier finally getting a couple of shots off. Then Tengu's going to get pushed away, but there's 4 more Tengus on the other side of the map. Make that 5 as the numbers are keeping up for Darknage. And in this case, we are closing in on the 6-minute mark. He should have point defense drones ready. When we see all of these guys transform, it should be to get point defense drones on all of them, which will change the equation a little bit there. It'll give them a little bit more survivability versus those Apollos. And unless Vindies is going triple airfield, how many Vindicators does he have? I think just 2 Vindicators. So we could go 6 Apollos. Yeah, that's still a lot of Apollos. No point defense drones yet. If he goes full 6 Apollos, then maybe these Tengus have some trouble. But if he goes 6 Apollos, you just have to avoid the fight. Just have to go to ground and hope for the best. Or in this case, catch an Apollo out in the open. Then your 6 Apollos don't matter at all. Imperial Warrior is going to be able to cut down that Javelin Soldier. They shoot him dead, and 2 more Apollos get caught. Transferring back in. Riptides are here. Javelins as well. But there's going to be the point defense drones as these Riptides get set upon. Vindies has got 3 grand in the bank, but he doesn't have 3 grand of army on the map. Not in a way that matters, as the power plant will be targeted next. The infrastructure is open and exposed, and Vindies is getting clobbered here at the 7-minute mark. He's not out just yet, but that was a lot of damage done to the army of Vindies. He hasn't cleaned up the economy yet, so if Vindies is allowed to just sit back and rebuild, well, the units can be remade without too much trouble. Harvesters now being shut down. Javelin Soldiers being cleaned out, and the Vindicators coming in, but this is going to be too little, too late. Peacekeepers moving in, and I guess maybe a Harvester goes down to the cryo shot or whatever, but double Harvesters getting knocked down by the Tengus is a lot worse for the allied player. 1 Harvester for Vindies, and he's the one who killed off all of those oil derricks, so no hope of the slow tick of the oil derrick to save you in this game. Instead, it's going to be all about the working refineries, which Vindies just does not have a lot of. Darknedge has put himself in such a better position here in game number 4. It was do or die with his back against the wall, and he has managed to do it, but he hasn't finished the job yet. He's still against an allied player who is looking down and out, but who hasn't tapped out just yet. Is there really some kind of hope? Is there really some kind of a comeback that Vindies could pull from this position? 1 Harvester, once again, the only thing bringing in income for Vindies. He does have a 2nd refinery. He does have tier 2. Oh my gosh, Vindies. No way, right? No way, right? This feels like it should be all buttoned up. I don't know where this refinery is going. This guy's been sitting around doing nothing for 2 minutes now, it feels like, and okay. The assault destroyer is moving out. The Tengu's just going to sacrifice themselves. Just surround this assault destroyer and go for the kill. Yari mini-subs should be coming out of that naval yard to help deal with these naval forces of the allied player, but for the current moment, that, okay, it's going to be the Chopper VX. The Chopper VX is on the way. This refinery, 2,500 bucks, could have been a couple of extra Tengus flying around the map. GG comes out as Vindies decides to tap out and leave the game. And that'll send us to the ace match here on Mers Landing. In the north, the Empire clawing his way back to an even score. This is Darknedge. And in the south, the Allies rocking the yellow. Can he close it out to keep his tournament alive? This is Vindies. Here in the lower bracket, both players playing for their tournament lives, hoping to make it into the next round, where, of course, it doesn't get any easier after this. Many difficult players still ahead, and this ace match will decide which of these two finally gets that next chance and advances into round 2. Mers Landing will be our final battleground, a second engineer produced by Vindies. Riptides on the way, 1, maybe 2. The Empire player has delayed the Mecha Bay, getting the oil derrick, but not the second. First Riptide is out, and the second one Javs and an engineer. Makes this an expensive opener for Vindies. Extra 500 from the engineer, and then a number of javelins as well. Darknage is going to try and steal that oil derrick. He's still got this dojo roaming around on the north half of the map. Riptide's split into two different locations. Burst drone avoids death once. Does manage to scout out the Riptides crossing the map. Airfield will be the follow-up for Vindies. Apollo might be the first thing out. Nope, it's the Vindicator, and the burst drone does confirm that. No option for slicing that engineer, as the Riptide will keep everyone safe for now. Oh, misclick there. Javelin soldier told to attack instead of the engineer being told to capture. Dojo has been deployed. Apollo is now out as well, and the MCV is down to the low ground. Walls coming up for Darknage. He's gone straight to Tier 2. Tsunami Tank is out. He is not doing the Tier 3 rush build. He is just sticking on Tier 2 for now. MCV sticking around for the current moment. And the oil derrick does get captured. Vindicator a little bit too slow to kill off that engineer. So a full swap has happened, but it looks like both oil derricks will eventually be taken over by the Empire player. Tier 2 up for both. Javelin Soldier's going to be going for the laser lock, and they will shut down one oil derrick, but not the other. Darknage, he's well set up inside of his own base. Vindies looking to expand, but hasn't taken the third just yet. Javelin Soldiers safe for now. Riptide's looking to pack both back up. Both players happy to let the first 3-4 minutes of the game play out pretty slowly, pretty cautiously, not wanting to risk anything on some kind of all-in or some kind of super aggressive play. They are both happy to just hang out on their side of the map. Darknage even scouting backwards towards that corner expansion to see if anything is there. Realizes that nothing is, and he will back down to his own main base. Tengu's coming in. Vindicator goes down. Cryocopters caught out in the open. Javelin Soldiers will be able to provide the firepower to keep those Tengus away for now. Darknage is just going for a cross map, sending his Tengus across the map. The Chopper VXs as well. They can do free damage to this MCV. VXs bypass the MCV. They go straight for the airfield. Not worried about killing the critical infrastructure. They're going for the production. Riptide's trying to return home. Cryocopter gets blasted. Riptides make it back home due to the shrink ray, as it was an Apollo that got cleaned up, as the Cryocopters do manage to survive for now. Airfield can be rebuilt very easily. Power plant survives just barely. This is buying a lot of time for Darknage to be able to do whatever he wants. Vindies has lost a harvester. He's lost his oil derrick, and now he's about to lose his refinery as well. Airfield goes down. Cryocopter gets its wings clipped. The second one so low on health, and Darknage finds huge damage right at the 5.5 minute mark. A slow first 4 minutes, but a 1-2 nearly knockout punch for Darknage. Vindies desperately needs to stabilize and get himself back in this game. Power plant back up and running. He's got the airfield on the low ground, and he didn't lose both Cryocopters. He only lost one. If that snowball rolled any further, it would have rolled Vindies right over and knocked him off the cliff. Darknage has a bit of an edge, but if he makes one too many mistakes, he will be done for. It is very likely that Darknage will slip up and overcommit to a fight and end up in a bad spot. There's Transform. Point defense drones comes in. Riptides will be getting caught, and once again, the Strikers moving into position. Those VXs not able to find any targets just yet. They go for the Transform, and the Cryocopter takes big damage, but not enough to go down. Refinery gets established on the low ground, and he will at least be safe for now. Darknage might just be finding an angle to knock down the economy once again. It was the economy that was the collapsing point for Vindies in one of those previous games, and Darknage nearly knocked him out on Battle-Based Beta by curtailing his economy, but Vindies was able to bring it back with his tech. In this case, Vindies is looking hamstrung. He's still keeping himself in this game, but as 3 more Javelin soldiers go down, it just feels like Vindies doesn't have the time, doesn't have the money to rebuild from all of this. Darknage takes a third on the low ground, and he's lost almost nothing on this side of the map. His army stays strong. He's got point defense drones, and the defenses are not here. Vindicator comes in, gets the tsunami tank, but nothing to deal with these VXs. There's nothing on the ground that shoots up. There's nothing in the sky to knock them down. Another ore refinery going down, and Vindies just buying time, but no, the GG comes out, and Darknage will advance on into round number 2. And that will keep us on Mers Landing. This time it's game number 5. Game number 1. It's not the ace match. It's not game number 5. It's the first match. In the north, rocking the red. This is the Allies. This is Cordelia. And in the south, rocking the blue Soviets. This is SS. YZZD-SS. Once again, I believe one of the Chinese clans, YZZD. Although, is CZZD a different clan, or is that just the same clan in 2 different ways to write it? I don't know. But SS is a player that I think we saw in the BattleNet qualifier. Cordelia is a player that I am unfamiliar with. Is going to be smurfing under the name Mr. Too Late. Hopefully, not too late in this series, because Mr. Too Late would then be Mr. Out of this tournament, if he is indeed a little too late. But Cordelia, one of these players that seen the name a couple of times, never seen any games, I don't think, from this individual. Just like it's great to see the old school players coming back and fighting it out, it's good to see new faces as well. Vindicators coming in, good peeling. Bullfrogs will go down, but 2 Vindicators go down. The damage was just enough. I thought 2 of the Vindicators were going to escape, but no, only 1 managed to escape. The Engineer survived. The Flak Trooper may have gone down, but I think the Flak Trooper also survived. So overall, that was a good exchange for the Soviet player. And the Allied player, prioritizing that airfield, it means deprioritizing the infantry and the oil derrick. Terror drone on the move out. This is an Allied player that has spent a lot on infrastructure and not a lot on army. And actually, Cordelia has spent a decent amount on army, but 3,600 credits doesn't go very far when you lose 2,400 of them in the first exchange. So we'll see how these flak troopers, how these bullfrogs are able to deal with the remaining guys. Black Trooper is going to be able to get some mines on this prospector. Is it in the wrong spot? Can he not actually mine it when it's in that location? I guess the answer is no. 2 mines placed on that harvester, and that's a dead harvester. That's a dead bullfrog, but that's a dead Vindicator as well. 2 more Vindicators for the graveyard as the MCV gets captured, and maybe you can't really infect it, but you just don't have to. Keep them locked down, keep them stuck in that one spot, and you'll be having a good day no matter what. SS with a fantastic first 3.5 minutes here on Mers Landing. What a way to open this best of 5. Harvester getting locked down, and the Harvester will be infected. Not enough HP to make it all the way back to the airfield, and the bombs get dropped, but that Vindicator also almost gets dropped, and now the Vindicator is stuck on the deck, getting locked down by the stasis of that terror drone. Cordelia, technically with one harvester working down here on the low ground, no oil derrick, and now no airfield as well. The Air Force goes down, and Mr. Too Late will be Mr. 0-1 in this series. It was a quick and dominant game number 1. But the last series also started with a dominant game number 1, and it was actually here on Infinity Isle that Dark Ninja was able to get the better of Vindy. But in this case, SS was able to very quickly, in what, like 4 minutes? Something like that. Very quickly knock down Cordelia in that game number 1. A bit unfortunate for Cordelia. Once again, the airfield first opener. Pretty common here on Infinity Isle. This is not a big surprise by any means. And SS is going to be going for the old flak cannon trick. Pause it at 99%. So that it technically doesn't finish building. And the airfield was not so quick that the engineer was really under any threat, but it was a quick airfield nonetheless. And the flak cannon can be canceled in a few more seconds. We'll see if the Vindicators actually try to bomb anything, if they actually try to dive in. And they're just going to go for the civ structure. Okay, so the flak cannon gets canceled, all the cash goes back to the Soviet player, and the Bullfrogs will hold down the lower ground. Building actually gets abandoned as well, so no hard feelings there. But double reactor out here on the water. We might be seeing a little bit of a base crawl towards that water expansion. SS moving up to the high ground. He's deployed the reactors towards that naval expansion, but his MCV has other things in mind. MCV up to the high ground. Cordelia on that last game went for a quick airfield into 3 refineries, and it did not work out. A relatively small attack group from the Soviet player was able to find critical damage versus the Allied player. But in that case, there were 2 dead Vindicators at this point in the game, so the Allied air power was considerably weaker than what we see right here. This is going to take all of the bombs to clear out those bears, but fortunately there were 3 Vindicators, so they can't do anything truly useful, but they were able to clear out those bears and allow that expansion to come up. Nicely timed, well enough. Flak Trooper gets packed along. Vindicators will be able to get the kill on the Flak Trooper. And 1 Vindicator goes down. The second one actually survives for now. It's very close. He's going to go down as he tries to land. He's not fast enough. And a terror drone now going to be getting dropped in on this Harvester. The Peacekeeper not fast enough to get the kill. And the Harvester will be infected. Bullfrog's getting pushed away. That's going to be 1 dead Harvester and 2 dead Vindicators as well. It is a difficult opening for Cordelia once again. It was a good first, 3 minutes, and in the last 30 seconds, it just all went sideways. Fortunately for Cordelia, he at least does have this oil derrick under his control, so Mr. Too Late is not going to be Mr. No Money. It is going to be an oil derrick just ticking away. But there is going to be the 4th refinery up and running for the Soviet player. Airfield, super reactor is already done. Airfield on the way. Walls for the delay. Doesn't want anyone to push down his front door too easily. Walls coming in versus just 2 Javelin soldiers. This is going to be a lot of time for the Javelin soldiers to try and clear out those walls. Give plenty of time for the airfield to finish, for the Twin Blades or MiGs or whatever you want to come on out. Maybe it's MiGs to help deal with the cryocopters and the Vindicators. 1 Harvester going to be going down. No! He mistimes it. The bombs don't drop. There they find their kill, but still traded back for 1. Can he get 2? SS is on a killing spree. He does not let anything go easily. And a Harvester does cost more than a Vindicator, but still managing to pull out a 1-for-1 in that exchange when it should have been a free and easy victory for the Allied player. That actually feels pretty good as a Soviet player. You're kind of happy with that, even if you do have the bigger loss. Fourth refinery up and running. Airfield has finished, and it's going to be twin blades. It's not immediately into the MiGs. It's going to be the old classic twin frog combo. SS has not won the game here in the first couple of minutes. He is needing more time. So he had a couple of good strikes there, but the cryocopter kind of evened things out. Not really, but at least it slowed down the Soviet player a little bit. And now that the Soviet player is up to 5 refineries, the Allied player must respond. MiGs are now here. Apollos are not picking a fight where the Bullfrogs can have a piece of the action, so the MiGs just die. 1 MiG down, 4 Bullfrogs standing there looking useless as a flak cannon is going to come up. You know, eventually this thing will get frozen down, but the flak cannon won't have much to say about it. Vindicator can swoop in, drop the bombs, force the cell, and the twin blades will manage to get some damage back. Apollos can clean up at least one of these twin blades on exit. No! They don't manage to get him! One twin blade down at half HP, but they ended up accidentally firing upon the twin blade that was at full HP. So all of the twins survive, and this observation post gets even captured by the Soviet player. That, anytime you see the observation post, you always got to go check that MCV, see if the MCV is still around. But in this case, it was not like a crusher crane into a Soviet MCV cell. It is just a build the old engineer the old-fashioned way. Akulisov going to try and land the ultra torpedoes, and he does. There goes the hydrofoil. It was a good attempt by Cordelia. A little bit too early there. He needed maybe 2 hydrofoils there, so the ultra torpedoes couldn't one-tap his plan. And, well, it ends up being a bit of a difficult operation to keep going. When the hydrofoil is locking down your anti-air, or your opponent's anti-air, and you're right on that edge, it's difficult to keep the attack going. Freeze ray comes in, but this is going to cost something. 1 cryocopter goes down. The Apollos get shredded as well. And now the Vindicator is going to die. Miscoordination by Cordelia. His aircraft not joined together, working together. Instead, working separately and dying apart. A disaster of an attempt there by Cordelia. And now the Harvester is back to work, happy as a clam, still full health, because freezing doesn't hurt. The bombs didn't land. The Apollos and one of the 2 cryocopters paid the ultimate price, but the Harvester didn't. The Harvester just gets right back to work, and it is looking more and more Soviet favored as the game goes on. A little bit of cash back there for the Soviet player as well. Those ultra torpedoes landing with effect, and the cash back being a benefit. Twin blades coming in, hydrofoil blasting away at these twin blades. They don't even care. A sloppy move there from the Soviet player to camp over a hydrofoil for a moment, but it almost feels like it just doesn't matter. SS has found so many good angles up to this point, has done such a good job of building out a foundation to work from, and now with these Akula subs clearing out the naval forces of Cordelia, that is going to be in one fight. Cordelia putting up a good fight here on Infinity Isle, a fair back and forth for the first half, but the second half just slipped away, and SS takes 2 in a row. The comeback starts here, and the comeback will have to start right now, with the red Allied player in the north putting up a good fight, but it wasn't good enough. This is Cordelia with that airfield first, with those walls on industrial strength. And can SS deal with the heat, or rather with the cold that's coming his way in the south? This is SS, which I guess I already said. Flak cannon on the front line, flak troopers on the front line. Is it actually a tier 2 cryo rush from the Soviet player? Baiting out the bombs! Are you really? Are you really? And the engineer gonna jump in. What's the timing like? Gets the kill! Nicely done by Cordelia. The Allied player does manage to clip that one unit and gets the early advantage. Flak Cannon will be canceled. Flak Troopers now going to be taking over as the primary anti-air capability of the Soviet player. Power plant finishes up, but will it be the tier 2 after that? I don't think so. I feel like that's moving a little bit too quickly. So it's not going to be a cryo rush for the Allied player. At least not yet. It's not the fastest cryo rush possible. If he goes cryos, it's going to be in a few moments. For the current moment, it was just an airfield first opening for Cordelia. Can indeed go for the expansion after this. And, I don't know, we might just kind of settle into a somewhat normal game. Oil Derrick does finally get taken over by the Soviet player. Looking for both Oil Derricks, and this one looks undefended for the current moment. The Vindicators might be here in time. Once again, it'll be a race for who can get the bomb or the flag. And the Vindicators fly right over top. They miss their opportunity. That's $500 that could have gone down that didn't. Vindicators moving over. Dogs forcing units into the buildings. Ooh, conscripts do manage to knock down one of the dogs, but there are still more behind them. Flak troopers moving in. All of the barks, none of the barks land. They all miss. And a reactor does go down. It does delay nothing. Nothing actually got canceled because of that reactor being cleaned up. I believe this is a Soviet player that doesn't have any electricity, but the super reactor will fix that. Will fix it indeed. Peacekeepers going to run away from the bears. Third refinery only just now coming online for Cordelia. SS with a nice little economic edge over his opponent. Cordelia drawing a 0 on the bank account, and SS needs to spend a little bit of that cash, but of course being low on having slow production because you are out of electricity does slow down that super reactor from finishing, and then it also does prevent you from building anything else because you're waiting for the super reactor to finish. Airfield finally finished up. The barracks was the only production structure for the Soviet player, basically up until that airfield finished. One barracks. That is what SS has been working with up to this point. Vindicator is going to be staying on their side of the map for the moment. They are going to be able to clean up some of these units. They just go for the conscript and they say, it's not worth it bombing out those bears. 3 bombs a bear is a tough price to pay. Peacekeeper swaps to his shield in time. Did a little double swap there. Does actually manage to survive the bear attack. Can wait for a Vindicator to clean out the bear. Nope. Vindicators are going for the Oil Derrick. And they will clean out the Oil Derrick. They'll at least get that kill. They've at least solved one problem. It feels like there are 98 more for them to worry about. We'll see. We'll see how the Allied player is able to make the comeback happen, because down 0-2 in the lower bracket, life on the line versus Twin Blades, loading up with all of these flak troopers. Oh man, if 3 Apollos swoop in and shred these Twin Blades, that would be a phenomenal waste of cash. Vindicators are here. MiGs are present as well. He knows that it was mostly Vindicators in the early game, so the Apollos just don't exist. The Cryocopter shows up and gets shredded. It's a good day to be a Soviet player, as even Red Alert 3 is surprised. And 5 minutes in, it just freezes. And hopefully it will unfreeze itself as it's coming into the explosive end of this airfield. Flak troopers bring the GG as Mr. Too Late taps out, and Cordelia will drop out of the lower bracket and drop out of the Gathering Storm qualifier. SS lives on into the second round. And welcome to Liberation Freeze for another game number 1. In the north side, playing the red allies. This is Dark Age. And in the south, playing the blue empire, it's Tsar. Czar and Darknage facing off here in the lower bracket round 2. Only one of them will be able to keep their hopes alive heading into that round number 3, and the other one will be going home. These are 2 players that I was hoping would make it a little bit further, and I guess one of them will, but one of them will not. Zaid, Czar, Darknage, Other Dawn, Maximo, a couple of other players as well. They are a newer wave of Red Alert 3 players. Dutch Army, Andre, Green Alert. These are players who have been around, in my mind at least, a little bit longer and been at the top a little bit longer. So we've seen a lot more of their games. We've seen them in competitive series, in tournaments, in finals, in show matches. Whereas some of these other guys we haven't seen as much in those later stages of tournaments. Or at least I should say I personally haven't. So these are some of the folks who were on my radar for players I was hoping would make it decently far into the tournament, maybe even make it into playoffs, maybe even make it deeper than that, and kind of have a breakout performance that is beyond what they've been able to do in the past, or at least what I've been able to see them do. As Javelin Soldiers will not get killed off by that burst drone. He tried the burst drone trick where you latch onto a vehicle, you let go, and you fly towards the infantry unit or the wall in some cases that you want to deal with. Peacekeeper's going to be jumping inside of the Riptides. Imperial Warriors not able to cut them down, but the Dojo is able to flatten a couple. The aggression is starting pretty early on here for these players. Riptides loaded up with infantry, trying to defend them against the impending forces of the Empire. Czar going to be dropping these Tengus down for the multi-stop harass here, as he is looking to shut down the economy of the allied player. Imperial Warriors have all been eliminated, but the Tengu threat has not been eliminated. There's still 4 Tengus at least here on this side of the map, and maybe even more coming towards the allied side. One Harvester has gone down. It has not even started being rebuilt, and another Riptide will end up going down, traded back for an additional Tengu. As the Javelin Soldiers go down, Czar is getting big damage done against Darknage, but it's not the end of all things yet. Harvester getting back to work, but this other refinery is still blocked off by that Tengu. Unfortunately for Darknage, his opening is going to be a little rough and a little slow on the eco side. Javelins have been eliminated, so it's just up to the Peacekeepers, and of course that means as soon as the Tengus transform, they are safe in the air. Apollo does manage to land. This is not an MCV cell. This is still an MCV full Empire player. He's still got that MCV, and GG comes out. Darknage, aka Just Quit, has been defeated. He taps out and he says he can't take the heat, so he's getting off of Liberation Freeze. And that means that he is landing on Mers Landing, as Darknage has found himself with a very difficult way to start out this series, but he is going to be trying an airfield first opener. And unlike that last series where we had Zaid breaking out some tricky random plays, Czar is sticking with Empire. So no playing random, unlike the other Z guy in the lower bracket. Czar just sticking with Empire. It's allies versus Empire. Well, who knows? Maybe in games 3, 4, 5, he will switch things up. But for now, in game 2, it is just pure allies versus Empire. This can lead to some weird situations with the oil derricks. As you can see, it was Apollo first from the airfield first for the allied player. And it is not tier 2. Okay, so it is not a cryo rush. It is not that kind of a play. And most of the time, the Empire player is able to get this oil derrick, even if the Vindicator is directly over top. No! Okay, he's not able to have the uptime to produce anything with that barracks. The Vindicator bombing runs were quick enough that they were able to knock that down Czar, on the other hand, he's kind of out of cash a little bit here as he has paused that engineer, waiting for his additional power plant to finish up. He did go for a defender core very early, and it ended up, in some ways, being a mistake because he didn't even have the electricity to support that defender core. So what use is having the base defense if you don't actually have the electricity to support it? Dojo will be coming out. Czar does not want to end up in a situation where he doesn't have the option of building tank busters. You always want to keep your options open. Sometimes we see players get caught on a very limited set of production facilities. Maybe that is just a naval yard or just an airfield, or in the case of the Empire player, just the mecha bay. I mean, he's got just a mecha bay now, but not through lack of trying. He does actually still have this dojo over here. Barracks going to be deployed. Darknage will be able to get his own oil derrick up and running, and we will see if these Imperial Warriors can finally do something. There were a couple of random Imperial Warriors roaming around the main Allied base a minute or two ago, and they weren't able to do much of anything. Tier 2 is out, and it has been spotted. So Darknage does know that Czar has gone for that Tier 2 mecha bay, that VXs, Tsunamis, they are on the menu, and, well, it wasn't an MCV cell until it was. As this sudden transport may have even been spotted. Yeah, I think it was spotted in time by that, and he's disguised it as a harvester, so it's going to be hard to miss regardless. But normally, if you just have the sudden transport mixed in with like 5 Tengus, it can kind of disguise itself. But in this case, it's going to be the one harvester that's going aggressive onto the front line. He also saw the leftover remnants of the MCV, so Darknage has all of the intel that he needs, and he's also deployed lots and lots of walls to make sure that he's got all of the space that he needs and the protection for the majority of his buildings. His Vindicators are not at all interested in defending against this sudden transport, so the walls don't actually get broken down there. I thought the Tengus were going to land and open up an opportunity, open up a hole for that. The engineer goes down, forces the sell-off of the war factory anyways, so killing the sudden transport knocked the engineer aside, and maybe even the peacekeeper got the kill, but the engineer got knocked down regardless, and that disrupted the capturing animation. So I think that would have been safe to not sell off, but the timing there was so incredibly close. The war factory is already back up and running, so now the MCV cell has not amounted to very much. It got the sell-off of that war factory, but it was not able to claim the war factory for the Empire side. And Apollo's trying to tussle with these Empire air units. IFVs are here as well. They do fantastic anti-air damage, and the Imperial Warriors are making their way back to defend the home base. Strikers will transform, but not in time. One of them goes down as this IFV is very low on health, but still alive, still roaming around, and will end up going down. Tengu gets the kill, backs on off. These strikers do not need to be onto the front line, and Darknage, he has pulled this off. It was a little bit dicey for a few moments there, but he's up to 3 refineries. He's got his oil derrick as well. He's up 3K in terms of total resources gathered against his opponent, so he's fine. He is doing fine here. He knows his opponent isn't really going to be expanding, probably ever, because the chance of your opponent rebuilding an MCV from this kind of a position is unbelievably low. It becomes about playing out the long game. You know that you will have that cryo shot advantage coming in soon. You can play it out slow, and you don't have to worry about the long game because you get stronger as the game goes on unless you lose everything to a couple of VXs. As the Harvester ends up going down in the main base, the IFVs will finally chase away those Chopper VXs, but not before a bit of damage has been done. A couple of Guardian tanks are very low on health. Czar might be able to pick up a couple of extra kills here. No, not able to find much of anything. He gets some damage against the allied army, but not nearly as much as he would have liked. But now he can trap some of these retreating forces. Laser Painter doesn't work very well when no one else is attacking. And those 3 slow tanks, 2 of them low on health, paid the ultimate price as Darknage now going to be moving his MCV to the front line, trying to use it as an offensive tool. As the Striker transforms, chases away that Apollo, keeps the Vindicators at bay. And here comes the Vindicators to swoop in. They're going to choose to drop their bombs on that VX. The MCV taking so much damage. The Tengu's getting clobbered in the sky, but the MCV is down. 1 player sold it. 1 player left it to the Wolves, but both players have lost their MCVs. And now Darknage might have just lost his chance to win the game. Tank Busters pushing the front line forward. They're looking to knock down that War Factory, and they will get it. The MCV cell comes for everyone, but not in the same way. Darknage now has to play this out with no tier 2, with no hope of the cryo shot to save him. He would have hoped that he had a naval yard or something else to build anything with. His now one hope of winning this game lies with the cryocopter. It lies with this command hub getting the upgrade to build those boys. These Imperial Warriors will eventually go down here. What is the follow-up? It's going to be Tengus. Do we have some more VXs out on the field, or is it going to be Tsunami tanks? Cryocopters can wreck your day, so do not think you have it won just because it looks like you have it won. This is still a 3-refinery allied player with an oil derrick as well. His economy is fine, and he now has basically infinite cash to spend on cryocopters. There are few things scarier than an allied player with infinite cash to spend on cryocopters. 3.8 grand in the bank. This is a lot of money, and he is going to basically be out of options in a few moments. I think he's already got a full airfield, so he literally can build harvesters, and maybe he snuck a barracks out somewhere. No, it doesn't look like he did. He can build harvesters to sell off and get a peacekeeper one at a time, and then he can build cryocopters, and that is it. Cryocopters will come out one at a time, but at least he is not low power mode. He kills off one of his own Vindicators to make more space for an Apollo. Could have always sent that to the other side of the map and gotten a kill that way. You know, drop the bombs on something on the other side. But he didn't want to wait for that to happen. He wanted to be able to replace that Apollo immediately and then get some cryocopters out onto the field. He's only got one on the front line right now, I think. Vindicator coming in. Tengus will be able to shred all of the air units. The defense is good so far by Czar. Tsunami tank rushing forward. He wants to challenge these IFVs as they are retreating. And this Tsunami tank looks so funny, shrunken down, just chasing those IFVs, but he will get frozen. And he won't die! He popped the nano deflectors. The freeze wore off. He thawed just in time. The defrost setting was just right, and one Riptide got left behind enemy lines. 3 cryocopters out on the field. Make it 4. Make it more, as Darknage has this opportunity to come back in this game. Will he finally be able to find a win with a pure airfield-based army? The Riptide goes down. He's got a couple of Imperial, he's got a couple of IFVs, and he's going up against the Imperial army of the Tsar. Cryocopters moving out. He should have 1 or 2 more. It's full. It's a full stack for Apollo army, so if these IFVs go down, then there is actually nothing to shoot the stuff on the ground. He can only just freeze. And I mean, if you freeze the production facilities, then that could also be the end of the game. If you have 1 cryocopter for every unit that the other guy has, you can just freeze everything in place, and then slowly, you know, you can build one Vindicator to kill everything else off. IFE is going to get jumped on. Tengu's now going to be getting frozen. Everything gets shrunken down on the ground. Czar's defense is holding. He's managing to get some damage done, but it's not over yet. The triple freeze does not manage to actually lock any of those VXs in place. They all survived that exchange. Oh, there's still a dojo over here. So he can't even produce a couple of Imperial Warriors. I feel like a few Imperial Warriors and a couple of Tank Busters, if you could sneak them along the side of the map and then keep them in waiting for the sneak attack, because obviously you can't do anything versus the aircraft with Empire infantry, but you could plan a sneak attack and then move in when your opponent is on the other side of the map, like right now. If he had managed to find a few spare dollars to pump out a couple of infantry, this could be a great backstab moment for the Empire player. The Allied player is looking for the front stab right through the front door, gets the shrink ray onto the strikers. Strikers move forward, little bit of chip damage. This damage is just about permanent because it will take a long time for the Allied player to fly across the map and get repairs. So while in theory the Allied player can always heal back up to full, the practical side of an attack is that it doesn't work very well if your units are on the wrong side of the map. One Tsunami tank does get grabbed. Chopper VX is starting to come out of that shrink mode. They are starting to be back on the full-size side of things, but this is just so many cryocopters. Both players playing on the edge here because either one of them, if they commit a few too many units, they will be out of this game. And in the case of Darknage, if he's out of this game, he is also out of, not quite the series, but he's out of chances. He's down 0-2 in a best of 5. He could probably afford to sacrifice a couple of these cryocopters, but not too many. You don't want to be giving these guys away when they're basically the only unit you can build. You can give a couple away, but, you know, you got to make the rest of them really, really worth it. As these IFVs, they also take a little bit of damage. These cryocopters just hoping that they can find that dream angle, maybe some kind of a choke point. The Empire player overextends a little bit, and 2 or 3 units get frozen down away from the rest of the army. They're able to be quickly dealt with by the IFVs. And both players doing a good job of spending all of the cash that they have. They're in this 2 versus 3 harvester lockstep because, of course, no MCVs. But in theory, Czar could at least rebuild his MCV, and then he would have point defense drones ready to go. Considering how late we are into this game, he would have probably 2 or 3 top secret protocol points that he could activate right away if he rebuilt his MCV. But when you've got this many cryocopters flying around your base, do you want to spend a minute and spend $5,000 trying to get out that MCV? That's in a different game. That would have been a huge engagement. 4 or 5, maybe even 6 cryocopters going down. In this game, it's like, well, that was bad, but it wasn't the end of all things. I feel like Darknage needs to find this little pocket over here. He needs to find a way to do a little bit of damage to the Empire player to knock him off just a little. Just create a little bit of an opening and swinging all the way around to the north side. Man, getting rid of the Vindicator does make it tough because you have to have the IFVs in position to actually kill stuff off. If you had the Vindicator, you could swing just a couple of air units into the north side, and you're like, all right, I'm going to lose a couple of cryocopters here, but I'm making peace with that. I'm going to kill the barracks, I'm going to kill the oil derrick, and that will eliminate one of the tools, well, sort of 2 of the tools, that my opponent has. That'll make the rest of this game that much easier. Apollo's trying to chase down these Tengus. The Tengus do find the angle into the fight. They only clean up one of the Apollos. And, of course, the IFVs are on the floor. Cryocopters trying to return. The Tengus can only kill the stuff in the sky. And as soon as they transform, the Cryocopters can swarm over top of them and start freezing them to death. 3 Apollos dead. Make it a full 4 with the one that died earlier. IFV is going to get a couple of shots in here. A couple of Tengus will go down. 2 of them get eliminated. That's 2 fewer Empire units that the Allied player has to worry about. But Darknage has enough cash to rebuild his Apollos without too much trouble. Cryocopters getting caught. That's 3, that's 4, maybe even 5. But how many Tengus will be caught on the other side? Cryocopters need to move in. There's only like 3 or 4 of them left. This is a lot of Allied army that just disappeared off of the map. Darknage might have finally been caught It might finally be too much, as that's a big swing on the army tab there towards Czar's favor. As the tsunami tanks move in, they find the airfield, they find the only production facility of the allied player. The back and forth was good, but it wasn't good enough as Czar takes game number 2, and what a way to advance to match point in this best of 5. And that is definitely a tough one to lose for Darknedge. Czar is going to be feeling fantastic after that back and forth, after he was able to pull that one back and not lose to the big cryo swarm. That was a huge flock of cryocopters flying around the map, and they never once found a killer angle to lock down unit after unit. You'll sometimes see that a big group of cryocopters, they, normally you don't see a group that big, but you'll see them lock down units, and it's almost like dominoes, but dominoes that are frozen in place. And so you just have a bunch of units focused in on one, and then it locks down that first unit, and then very quickly after that, your entire army gets frozen one by one. And if they have 6 or so cryocopters and you have 6 units out of the fight, that can just completely derail any attempt that you had at winning that fight, and you will just be dead even though all of your units are still alive. And so very quickly you can end up in a sort of cascade or a sort of domino effect where the more stuff that's frozen by the cryocopters, it just makes it there be less stuff to kill the cryocopters, which then means it's easier for the cryocopters to freeze more stuff. In this case, Czar did manage to come out ahead in that, and I do wonder, will Darknedge be able to bounce back, because that is a tough L to take. And now we are on to Infinity Isle. Of course, the classic, the Eternal, but we don't have Cryo Rush. We did have the threat of a Cryo Rush. We do have a sneaky double airfield. The MCV deploys out to the water, indicating that he's going for a 3rd refinery, but he is not. And now let's see. He does see far enough. I believe Czar did see far enough that he knows that it is not a 3rd refinery. He knows that that MCV was deployed way too far for there to be a 3rd refinery. So Czar's alarm bells should be going off. We saw Mirage Tank do something similar, this multi-airfield style, which is very heavy on air units for the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game, it seems, and very light on naval yard, barracks, or war factory to defend and hold the game together. It worked out pretty well for Mirage Tank in the BattleNet qualifier, but will it work out well here for Darknedge, who is down 0-2 in this series? Dojo moving up. This is the sneaky Dojo to try and lock down this MCV. Oh no, he's actually just going for the oil derrick. He's not going to try and go for the MCV cap, try and get the engineer into that very expensive target. He's instead just going to go for the oil derrick, which he's already attempted twice and has not been able to get. Wall's trying to come up for Czar, but it will not work. Yari mini-sub. This might be an overcommitment. If he builds multiple Yari mini-subs, then he really did think that it was a refinery out there. He cancels the other one. Okay, so he's only in like 1,800 credits right now. And if he kills the power plant and the airfield with this one Yari mini-sub, that'll pretty much be worth it for the Empire player. He can sell off that naval yard. But this has deeply confused Czar. It feels like Czar is definitely playing a unusual game. He scouts it, he spots it, and he's like, oh, what is going on with this guy? In the meantime, Darknedge just takes the high ground expansion. He still hasn't captured his oil derrick, but he has denied 3 barracks from the Empire player from being able to capture that oil derrick. So Czar is now just in a very bizarre situation where he's delayed his own 3rd refinery. He has gone for a naval yard, but he's not going to get huge value out of the naval yard. He's just shutting down a power plant and an airfield. He's not killing harvesters. He's not cutting down the economy. He's just clearing out the waters. Fortunately, he did not overspend to do it. Apollo's down to the south. Vindicators as well. Lots of aircraft. I don't know that there's a lot of airfields out on the field just yet. No, he has not rebuilt his second airfield. So not all of these units can actually land and refuel at the same time. Javelin soldiers making their way out onto the map. They are going to be positioned very far forward to help provide covering fire for that airfield, to help provide additional damage in case anyone tries to fight on the allied side of the map. VX is going to get a couple of free shots onto the Vindicators, and Darknage has kind of pulled it off. We're closing in on the 6-minute mark. He is ahead in terms of the economy. He's killed off his opponent's oil derrick, and even though he was pretty slow on capturing his own oil derrick, and he was slow on getting his third refinery up and running, his third refinery is a lot faster than his opponent's, and now there is that somewhat permanent oil derrick advantage for the allies. Losing a Vindicator to only do some damage to a harvester, not necessarily worth, but this might just be opening the door. Yeah, cryo shot going to be coming in. VX is going to be forced onto the ground. One of them will end up going down. Point defense drones were also used, so that's not exactly a waste, but it's not an ideal usage of those point defense drones when they just immediately get burned off by the Apollos. But is anyone actually coming in to get a kill? The answer is no. The Harvester will go down, but the Defender Corps does survive. Another blow to the economy of Tsar. He's lost his oil derrick. His third refinery was super late, and now he's lost a harvester as well. He needs to restart that basically immediately, and his attack on the other side of the map, he's going to try and finish off this harvester. But he is going to pay for it. One tsunami tank goes down, and the other one may not survive to make it all the way back home. The damage is coming through on both sides of the map, but it feels like a lot more of it is being absorbed by the Empire player in this game. Okay, that Black Hole Armor did not actually save that Assault Destroyer. The Black Hole Armor activated by the second Assault Destroyer, not close enough to save his buddy. Meanwhile, the Hydrofoil did manage to get a 1-for-1. So that Black Hole, the Assault Destroyer, has not gone down in vain. Darknage with a very big contrast in game number 3 compared to game number 2. Everything that has happened in this game stands in stark contrast to that previous game. That's a loose engineer, so I think we can conclude that something has happened to the MCV, and now the barracks is gone. So now there is one production facility for the Empire player, and in this situation, as long as you can hold down the front door, it is worth sacrificing quite a few units if it gets you a guaranteed kill on the one production facility that your opponent has. And it looks like Darknage is not even going to need to be that suicidal to get a kill on the Empire in this game. Zaid is not in this game. Darknage feels like he is in complete control on Infinity Isle. It is his game to lose, and it doesn't look like he is going to be letting it slip through his fingers. Tsar is capable of pulling some kind of comeback, but every moment that goes on, it feels like the comeback gets harder and harder, gets less and less likely, and he's about to be in low power mode as well. If this second power plant goes down, then Tsar is going to be permanently in slow production mode, and that will hurt just as much as the economy going down, because who cares if you've got money if you just can't spend it And if he has all the money in the world, but he just can only produce one unit very slowly at a time, Spy comes to the front line. There's going to be the backup. The bribe doesn't come through, but it completely slows down this first wave of the attack. The Empire has broken through the walls, but the Spy buys an extra couple of seconds, and there's the low power mode for Czar. He needs to get some big damage onto the other side of the map, because if he tries to rebuild this army, it's going to take him forever. Walls coming in, just trying to delay this army even more. This is a lot of firepower from the Empire player, but they don't have much of a home to go back to. They are fighting for their lives, and they are fighting for this game as the VX goes down, transforms into the sky, and the GG comes out as Darknage puts his first point on the board. The comeback starts now, and it will continue here on Epicenter Island for game number 4. Darknage able to bring it back with a very controlled, well thought out game on Infinity Isle. And maybe it's time for Czar to introduce a little more chaos back into the picture, because he got run around a bit in that previous game. He was not able to get any big harassment done. He was not able to shut down Darknage's options in that game at number 3 like he was in games 1 and 2. Peacekeepers moving out. No airfield first for this allied player. Could still go airfield before anything else, but, you know, no like super duper fast airfield or anything. And no super fast third refinery from the Empire player. A lot of players on this map will go 3 refineries right out of the gate. Not the case with Czar. It is still a quick third refinery. Certainly a lot quicker than his previous game on Infinity Isle. But it is not an immediate third refinery for the Empire player. Naval Yard is out. Darknage is going to be adding some Riptides on into the mix. Meanwhile, Imperial Warriors just getting a little bit of scouting done, being a little bit annoying towards that allied player. Third refinery coming online very, very soon, and the Mecha Bay will follow shortly thereafter. Riptides now out on the field, so the allied side of the map has been made safe for the short term. More threats are undoubtedly going to be flying their way very, very soon to the left side of the map. But Czar is also in low power mode just briefly, so he will have slowed production here for a moment or two. But when you go for your faster third refinery, you know, that does happen. When you get the refinery and the war factory at the same time, that does indeed happen. Ore refinery now up and running. So Darknage is matching the economy of Czar. But, oh no, he has not sold off his MCV. So he's still keeping that around. This is not a 3 refinery MCV cell. Not just yet. He is keeping that token in his back pocket in case he needs it. Riptide's moving out. Peacekeepers as well. Scouting dog out there on the water. Riptide taking a bit of damage. Should be able to escape? Question mark. We'll see how much these Tengus really want to hunt it down. Grabbing a couple of these buildings, turns out it was a good idea. The Peacekeepers are going to try and jump into their own structures so that they can survive, but the Riptide does go down. Is that the first domino to fall as Czar moves out to the other side of the map? We'll be able to look for some harassment angles. Airfield is up and running here at the natural expansion, and the MCV is down on the low ground. Darknage did keep his naval yard around as well, so we can rebuild those Riptides. Maybe we'll see some other air units as well as the Apollos get clobbered. That air fight did not go the way that Darknage wanted. Czar wins the dogfight between the Tengus and the Apollos, and it's more reinforcements streaming across the map for the Empire player. Apollos headed back to base. Multi-gunner, sure, it's not coming up just yet. This harvester goes down. Another harvester offline, not harvesting. Even if he is alive, he doesn't really count. And it is one harvester now working for Darknage. Bombs don't land. Apollo's giving chase. They will get one Tengu. They find their kill, and now they need to escape. Evacuate the situation. Barely does manage to survive. And with two harvesters dead at once, that is a difficult spot to recover from. Tengu's continuing to swarm around outside of the Allied base, invading the Allied airspace, looking for the Apollo. They find one out by itself, separated from the others, and they still take the fight over top of the multi-gunner turret. The Apollos all go down. The air forces of the Allied player crumble, and the Tengus are now free to transform onto the ground and hunt the targets there. GG gets called, and Czar will take it 3-1 in this series. And wouldn't you just know it, we're back on Infinity Isle. And who do you think has chosen this map? Well, on the right side, we've got the Cyan Empire. This is Zaid. And on the left side, crashing through that first round, this is Waff the Wolf. These old school guys ending up on Infinity Isle. Although I don't actually know how they decided on the first map. They could have, banned out a bunch of maps in order to decide the first one. Or they could have both said, you good with II? And then, like, yeah, who cares? We'll just start with the one that we're both familiar with. But I will continue to claim that it's because Waff the Wolf is an old school player. Probably has nothing to do with that. But, you got to go with the narrative, regardless of reality. In this case, Zaid, down here in the lower bracket, maybe a little bit earlier than I would have expected. I would have thought he would be progressing a little bit further through that upper bracket, but there are still 2 slots left to qualify for the tournament. And if you've seen the upper bracket video, then you know that, as I say often enough in these videos, the range of the opponents, the difficulty of the opponents only goes up from here. I love the little pocket with the 2 jabs inside of it. It's not full walls around everything, but it does just provide a little pocket there for the Javelin soldiers. They can't really be transformed upon by a Tengu. I think if you try to transform a Tengu there, it would end up getting pushed out by the walls, or it would end up getting glitched on top of the walls, and that is not permissible. So those Javelin soldiers are safe for now, and there are 2 of them, so they can provide a decent amount of anti-air firepower. For the current moment, Zaid doesn't have to worry about any of that. He is sticking on his side of the map, and he is happy to play the first 2.5 minutes out a little bit slow. Conyard moving over to that natural expansion on the water. The backdoor natural for the Allied player. Riptide going to be pushing forward just a little bit here. Maybe loaded up with a couple of Peacekeepers or Javelin soldiers. Either way, I do want to get on out of there. Tengu's coming in for the transform, maybe. The Apollos were there in case they did. So one Tengu will just eat the bombs on the ground and die peaceably. Let me eat these bombs and die in peace, says one Tengu. And the rest of his friends go, okay, we don't want to fight the Apollos either, so we will just hang out there on the ground. Little bit of an excursion for the Allied player, but really, this is just to cover this backdoor expansion. He's got his 3rd refinery up and running. No oil derrick, though, not on the Allied side of things. We do have an oil derrick, though, for the Empire player. So the 3rd refinery doesn't hit as hard as it would normally, especially if Waff the Wolf had his own refinery or had his own oil derrick up and running. MCV cell into winning, and a dogfight is always a good feeling if you're an Empire player. Only one Apollo went down, though. Tengu's going to transform on top of the Riptides. These Riptides are now trapped on the wrong side of the war. They're on the wrong side of the tracks, as it were. And these Tengus are going to hunt them down. Low or high damage mode slows down the Riptide before it can escape out onto the water. And that's 2 dead Riptides. That's the ground army of Waff the Wolf eliminated for the current moment. Naval Yard has been rebuilt. We don't have Tier 2 yet, so we don't have Assault Destroyers for the Allied player. And despite the fact that he does have 3 refineries, he doesn't have that extra bit of income from the oil derrick. Oh, clips the wing of one of these Tengus. The Apollos trying to move in as well. 3 Apollos are here. Going to force the sell-off of that power plant as the Tengus transform onto the ground. And now they're going to cause some problems for the Allied player. No multi-gunner turret here and ready to go. And now it's going to be low-power city for the Allied player. 3 power plants, one right after the other, sold off to try to keep things moving. It's going to be low power mode, but at least he's got the cash on hand. And is he trying to finish up Tier 2? No, he's already finished up Tier 2. He could be going for that Assault Destroyer, but it is going to build so slowly. Even though he's got $1,000 in the bank, he doesn't have the Assault Destroyer out on the field. Zaid bringing the aggression after the slow first 3 minutes. He is going all out after that MCV sell. I feel like I'm waiting for the Assault Destroyer, and it's taking forever to get here. A Harvester goes down. The Hydrofoil going to be locking down one of these Tengus, and the Apollos are hoping for a fight that the Hydrofoil can take part in. 1 Harvester dead, 2 are still working, and the airfield is safe for the current moment. Apollo's going to be trying to find a fight versus the Tengus. The Vindicator does end up going down. A couple of Tengus will be clipped out of the sky as well, and the Apollo running back for home. Tengu's going to sacrifice themselves. That one is hoping to crash down right on top of those Javelin soldiers, and he will find both of them. The walls as well go down, but the Assault Destroyer stands strong. The last hope and defense of the Allied player. The economy has been hurt, but Waff the Wolf is still in it. If he can pull off a miracle defense here, or not even a miracle defense, just a really solid defense here, then he will be in a great spot in this game. But the damage has been done onto the Allied side of the map. Spending nearly $3 grand rebuilding those power plants is not what you want to be doing. Having your Assault Destroyer take an extra long time to be produced, and this Apollo didn't even get a chance to fire a shot as it goes down. The Javelin soldiers are dead on the ground, so they can't return fire, and these Tengus just sort of have free reign over the Allied base. There's not much that shoots up from the Allied side. Harvester escapes out the back, but it just doesn't matter as the Tengus will get the kill regardless. And a Tsunami tank now moving in will end up getting crushed. Take a little bit of health away from that Assault Destroyer. At least kills off 1 Tsunami tank, so that's 1 less problem for the Allied player to deal with. But Zaid has not let up on the gas yet. He may be returning to base with a few of his units, but he's got more Tsunami tanks plus Imperial Warriors coming through the middle of the map, and he is not done yet. Tengus swooping back in. They're moving into position. Are they actually going to go for the transform or look for the Harvesters once again? The fight on the front line is not the only thing that the Allied has to defend. Tsunami tanks getting lots of free damage onto these Assault Destroyers. No black hole armor just yet to try and help mitigate the damage and get the repairs at the same time. Instead, these Tsunami tanks are just chunking away the health of those Assault Destroyers, and that Harvester on the north side is basically completely undefended. Harvester on the south side is also not very well defended, despite the fact that there are 2 Assault Destroyers here. They just don't have the firepower to do anything. The Empire rolls over the Allies in game number 1, and Zaid gets the first win. It was a slow rolling start, but the snowball picked up momentum as it was going bigger and bigger, growing and growing, and eventually it knocked Waff the Wolf right off the cliff. And there's one little detail that I missed there in game number 1. And only one tiny little detail. There definitely wasn't more than one detail. Just one. And that is the fact that Zaid has actually been playing random. So it was not really Allies versus Empire in that last game. It was indeed Allies versus Random, and it drew Empire. So in this case, we've got ourselves an AVA, a mirror matchup. But ordinarily, you would be thinking, all right, Zaid is playing Empire. Maybe Waff the Wolf wanted to go for some kind of a cryo rush, try and get a win back on industrial strength, and Zaid has, like, outthought him by playing Allies. But no, it's just Zaid is playing Random. But that does kind of change the equation of loser picks. Because when you're doing a loser picks map selection, the game number 1 is agreed upon by both players, and then the loser gets to pick the map after that. So Waff the Wolf most likely selected Industrial Strength, but when your opponent is playing Random, you lose that guarantee of, oh, I'm going to go for a Cryo Rush because it's Industrial Strength, and I know he's playing Empire. You lose that kind of flexibility, and here we have Industrial Strength, and we do have an airfield opening. Well, not really an airfield opening. There was barracks before that. There were some dogs doing some kills and some scouting. There's some peacekeepers and some oil derrick captures. And it does seem like Zaid has spent a lot more cash on his army in these first couple of minutes than Waff the Wolf has. Waff instead going for that airfield. And Zaid, he might just be going... He's going like full greed mode. This is off of 1 or 2 barracks as an opening. It looks like it was 2 barracks as an opening, but that's it. And this is a cryocopter for Waff the Wolf. This is not a particularly fast cryocopter here for Waff the Wolf, since he did go for that infantry opening as well. And he got both refineries before the airfield. So his tier 2 was delayed because of the early spend on infantry and production. But at the same time, Zaid has gone for quite a greedy build as a response, going for that fast 3 refineries, and he has taken over a lot of the map with his extra peacekeepers, and now he's got a couple of javelin soldiers as well, 2 javelins moving in an Apollo as well, and the freeze comes in, but it doesn't stick! The freeze lasts only a second! The harvester was frozen, but the Vindicator did not bomb fast enough, and the cryocopter died so quickly. Unbelievably bad timing there for Waff the Wolf. The margin of error there was so thin, and it worked out against him. Oh, that is so frustrating for Waff the Wolf. He loses the cryocopter. He only kills 1 harvester for it, and then this other harvester is still at 80% HP. Okay, and Apollo does get blasted out of the sky there. But Waff the Wolf playing against this random Zaid does end up in an AVA mirror, decides to go for the early cryocopter anyways, and it does not work out. Now, fortunately, he does still have that tier 2, and cryocopters are pretty much always good, so he can rebuild the airfield over here by the 3rd base. He can do something else, but he can make himself still benefit from that early tech, but that is not how you want those first couple of moments to go. That is not how you want that first exchange to go. Vindicator swooping in for Zaid. Will clean up a couple of peacekeepers here. Javelin soldier for Zaid also backing off from the front line. And some damage done to this refinery. It's good for Waff the Wolf to do as much as he can with these units, but that is not the damage that he was hoping to do. And now Zaid has shut that down as well. So Waff the Wolf at least getting out onto the map, clearing a bit of the map out, doing some damage to his opponent, and looking towards an expansion, but it will be spotted out by this doggo as well. Zaid will know that the sneaky potential expansion is coming up for Waff the Wolf. Wolf has not moved his MCV to provide tier 2 to that airfield just yet, so he's continuing to stick on just the tier 1 production for the current moment. Apollo's going to give chase, and they don't get him on the deck, down to about half HP, but not enough to finish off that Apollo. No guaranteed kills, no confirmed kills, rather, for WAF. A frustrating first 5 or 6 minutes here for the Wolfie boy, and Zaid looking to match WAF in the expansions. He's got his own third up and running a bit sooner, but he did lose that harvester a bit earlier on. So maybe those two things kind of even out. Peacekeeper will go down. Okay, drops a couple of bombs. I think the Peacekeeper got cleaned up, but the second Peacekeeper did survive for the current moment. Apollo's going to be taking a fight. WAF the Wolf takes a bit of damage there. First refinery up on the water for the Wolf. Not yet for Zaid. All right, there it is. Right there at the 6.5 minute mark. WAF the Wolf also trying to clear out that oil derrick. Will be maybe staying ahead on the economy. Zaid is technically up just a little bit in terms of income. I'm not exactly sure what that is from. I guess it's just the faster third refinery. Yeah, I guess it was the faster third refinery overall that gave him that slight edge. WAF the Wolf now going to be taking his naval yard, deploying his naval yard out at this expansion. Still worried about the tier 2 though. He's got an airfield, it's not in range, no cryocopters, maybe we'll see some spies, maybe. And WAF the Wolf, he gets suspicious. He's like, where's your stuff? You haven't really been attacking me, I don't see a ton on the land. So what's going on? And of course he scouts the water with the Apollos, and he confirms, okay, this guy is doing the exact same thing that I am, and I can kind of expect that every step I take, he will be doing something similar. Both players now sitting on that 5 refinery economy. They're going to be very, very close to each other in terms of income. 32k versus 32k for total resources gathered. Very slight edge there to WAF the Wolf now that he has had the faster 4th and 5th refinery. The oil derrick going down on the north side of the map first, but it looks like it's going to go down on the south side of the map as well. Cryoblast going to be firing off. The shot will land. And it looks like most of the Peacekeeper is going to be getting cleaned up. So Zaid using the cryo shot to deny his opponent from being able to take over that building. Looks like an Apollo ended up going down, or maybe a Vindicator over top of these buildings. A bit of a different pace here in game number 2. There's the return fire cryo shot. That's a lot of dead Peacekeeper, as that was, I don't know, 12 or 1,400 credits worth of Peacekeepers just evaporating, just shattering out of the game. Dolphins ready for the 1-2 punch. This is 6 Dolphins rolling in with Vindicator support, with hydrofoils as well. So the multi-gunner turret is not going to be able to do a whole lot. Assault destroyers are not an option because the tier 2 doesn't reach that far. Although I could have upgraded that the command hub, but now the command hub is gone, so no hope there. As the space cable is witness to the total destruction of the expansion, the Wolf is being hunted, and the water is not where he goes to survive. Dolphins on the other side of the map, a much smaller attack group is here for the Wolf. Meanwhile, Zaid has completely cleaned up Wolf's expansion. Wolf is going to be a bit slower to do the same to Zaid. Second multi-gunner turret will deploy, makes this a bit of a harder thing to pull off, as one Dolphin will end up going down, and a couple of Apollos are moving in to support. The Apollos are here for Zaid. Apollos from WAF the Wolf get a good angle on the Vindicators. Can they hunt them all down? That might actually make it worth it right there, but no, the Apollos getting traded out. The Dolphins going down. The Harvester survives. The refinery survives, and WAF the Wolf loses his expansion, but he's not able to match the damage on the other side of the map. Still, no cryocopters coming out from WAF. It is now up to tier 3 on this MCV. He's got Athena cannons. He has the option of Mirage tanks out onto the field, but for the current moment, he is just going with the ground army. A little bit of aircraft support, but no cryocopters in the sky. One Dolphin left over in the northern expansion. Waff the Wolf says, okay, I can't fight you out on the water. You knocked out my base. I wasn't able to knock down your base, but I will take you down on the land. Laserlock comes in from Zaid. 2 buildings going to be getting wiped out in one go. The Civ structure will be abandoned, and the garage will fall to pieces. Waff the Wolf does manage to get an Apollo for free there. That IFV finding a bit of damage against the Cyan allied player. Assault Destroyer is here. Zaid has seen this attack coming. Is he ready for it? He's got his own tier 3 now, so his first Athena cannon is out, and he's got Assault Destroyers with Black Hole armor ready to go as well. So he doesn't just have the artillery to match that of his opponent. He's got some additional tools as well. Cryoblast going to be coming out for Zaid, and it will be absorbed by the Aegis Shield for now at least. Return fire, Cryoblast should be ready very, very soon for Waff the Wolf, but of course Black Hole armor will negate that for the most part. Assault Destroyers are moving forward. Aegis Shield from Waff the Wolf absorbs the first round of attacks, and those laser locks are powerful indeed as 2 Assault Destroyers go down. Waff the Wolf now has to deal with the dogs. The Peacekeepers blast them, and he's winning the artillery war. He's winning every fight on the front line, but he's not winning the fight back home. He's going to have to make this count. He's going to have to do as much damage as he can with the reinforcements streaming across the map. He will put the pressure on to Zaid, but Zaid has the water to retreat out to. Riptide's going to be taking damage. Zaid finding a couple of shots here. Javelin soldiers being eliminated. Peacekeepers getting cut down. And Zaid has completely taken the wind out of the sails of Waff the Wolf. It was a winning fight for Waff the Wolf. And then the distraction back home has stopped the flow of damage. Cryocopters now out onto the field. 2 of them produced by the Cyan allied player. Aegis Shield does show up. It'll buy some time. Apollo is going to be pushing away these cryocopters, but they can't stay there forever. Aegis Shield does pop 3 Athena cannons on the ground, and now it's 3 versus 0. Zaid finds the damage. Now there's 1 shrunken down Athena cannon here. Inside a range, takes huge damage from the Vindicator and will die to the return fire from Zaid. Waff the Wolf's front line falls apart, and it's now up to the Peacekeepers to try and do the big damage in the south. They will get picked apart. They will get burned down by these Athenas if they're not frozen in place by the cryocopters first. Harvester coming offline, going to be going for the crush. I don't need anyone to defend me. I don't need guns to make it happen. I'll do it with my wheels. I'll do it with my big rubber circles as this 1 hero Harvester saves his own life, and Zaid saves the game. Puts a second point on the board. And that'll take us to Battle Base Beta for another Allies versus Random. And this time, for better or for worse, Zaid ends up as Empire. I feel like Waff the Wolf is going to be very, in an old sense, very familiar with this matchup. He will have played this an absolute ton versus players like Queen Oni and Eminence and many other Empire players from back in the day, from 10 or so years ago. But again, that was 10 years ago. So Infinity Isle, Battle Base Beta, Fire Island, very, very popular maps back in the day for tournaments and for competitive play. So we'll see. Is Waff the Wolf going to be able to make it happen? Because he is now in that do or die situation. He's got no chances left, and he needs 3 wins in a row. So no more ace match where you just have to win the 1 game and it's all tied up. Nope. He has to go the full distance and clean sweep from this point forward. Oil Derrick getting targeted down. Waff the Wolf has at least got that captured for himself for the current moment. Imperial Warriors are about to finish it off. And the Apollo will clear out the water expansion over there. Waff the Wolf doesn't have to worry about a greedy Empire player. And he doesn't have to yet worry about an MCV cell from said Empire player. Although the MCV has been replaced to a slightly more northern position. Waff the Wolf, he's got extra walls. He's got his Vindicators off the deck so they are ready in case anything shows up. They don't want to get trapped in a bad situation. Double Apollo, double Vindicator, scouting out the map, looking for the intel and trying to figure out exactly what is going on. Vindicator's a little bit too slow to be able to jump on this ore refinery. That would have been amazing if Waff the Wolf was able to jump on that with 2 Vindicators and put some big damage onto it, maybe kill it off, as the Tengus will move in. Goes for a bit of a scout. 2-3 Javelin soldiers spread out will mean that it's no easy free scout for the Empire player. Although the Tengus coming in will end up killing both of the Javelin soldiers. So 2 Javs go down, traded back for a Tengu, and the Tier 2 has been spotted by the Allied player. This Vindicator very low on health, but he did survive. The VX only did so much damage. Waff the Wolf, he's keeping his units alive for now, his expensive ones. He loses the Javelin soldiers, but at least he is able to trade back positively versus the Empire player. Third refinery going to be much quicker for Zaid than it is for Waff the Wolf. He's only just now getting that naval expansion online, and both players temporarily are low on power. Waff the Wolf is fixing that currently, and Zaid should be fixing it very soon as well. Ultimately, this is now turning into like a very greedy build for Zaid. Because he went third refinery, he went for the Tier 2, and now he's going for a fourth refinery. It will be spotted, but Waff the Wolf doesn't have any immediate way to punish it. He did go for a very safe airfield opener, lots of walls, not a big ground army, just enough to grab the oil derrick, knock down a couple of buildings, and then pull back to a defensive posture. Waff the Wolf would have loved to have been able to punish this early fourth refinery, this late Tengu production. I mean, there just hasn't been a whole lot here for the Empire player, and that looks like 2 Apollos going down as the Empire gets a couple of free kills versus the Allied player. Yeah, 2 Apollos going down basically for free there. Trying to go for the scout, ends up costing their lives. And now the Naval Yard is on the way for Zaid. He is pretty happy with how this whole first 5 minutes has gone. He can live with being 4 refineries plus an oil derrick against his opponent, who's only sitting on 3 working refineries. This 4th harvester is a little bit fake there, as he does deploy into a command hub and remove himself from the harvester count at the current moment. Ooh, Apollo taking heavy damage. Not enough to kill it off. Waff the Wolf getting that return to base timing just right. I'm sure that's the exact amount of damage that he wanted to take on that unit. And everything just works out just right for him. But he is going to be losing this command hub. That's unfortunately more damage than he was hoping to have. But he will get a counter kill on the other side of the map. 1 harvester traded for 1 harvester as the Dolphins find a little bit of damage in the south, but I don't think they're going to be able to get the refinery. Yari Miniso sub shows up to be able to shut down this Dolphin attack. Great Dolphin micro from Waff the Wolf. He once again showing why he was at a time a tip-top player, absolutely maximizing that Dolphin and getting as much damage as possible. His hope is to swing in with the Vindicators and get the kill, but it's going to cost him as the Tengus move in to respawn. He will force the sell-off of that refinery just as the Harvester finishes up, so the Harvester pays for the Vindicator. That almost could not have worked out better for Waff the Wolf. That was a fantastic 1-2 punch there, and the dance of the dolphin did actually matter. All of that micro to keep the dolphin alive did matter in terms of trying to get the kill on that refinery. It didn't matter in terms of that's a big army. Oh my gosh, how is Waff the Wolf going to deal with this? And point defense drones are here as well. This is a ton of firepower that Waff the Wolf has to deal with. He better have hydrofoils, assault destroyers, something out on the field to contend with this army. He does have hydrofoils. He is putting the damage out into these air units, but the VXs are untouched at the current moment, and Waff the Wolf is just going to sell everything off, and he is going to abandon the low ground, abandon the water, and abandon the game as we don't get a big flashy final fight. It will just be the GG, the tap out, and the cool micro doesn't win the game. Zaid completes the 3-0, and Waff the Wolf will drop out of Gathering Storm. And that will launch us into round number 3. Once again, a big thanks to Edvin for helping to organize the CCO qualifier. Big shout out to the players, but also a huge shout out, of course, to Tim and MediaStorm for sponsoring this entire event, the $2,400 prize pool, and everything that goes along with it. In the north of Mers Landing, playing the red, this is Pika. And in the south, rocking the yellow, playing Empire, this is 32 Oil Derricks. I had to go back and double check because I thought for sure these guys had clashed at some point before this, but no, this is the first time they have met each other in either one of the qualifiers. So these are a couple of the players who played in both the BattleNet and the CCO qualifiers. Green Alert is another one. OP Shizhao is another. There's maybe 2 other players who played in, I think, Classic Noob as well. I'm forgetting a couple, but there were a handful of players who played in both qualifiers. And some of those players, they met in one, but Pika and 32 Oil Derricks, they never actually played each other on the BattleNet side of the qualifier. And this is their first time clashing here in the lower bracket of the CCO qualifier. So they will indeed meet. They may have played each other on ladder or on some previous games, but as far as we know, this is their first competitive match versus each other. MCV cell to start us off with. So 32 Oil Derricks is wanting to establish an aggressive stance very early on. Pika, on the other hand, went for a couple of Riptides, got some airfields as well, and only has left a power plant exposed to the potential attacks of the Imperial Warriors. Riptide's pushing forward. This is a lot of firepower on the Empire side. Then the Riptide realizes that getting caught behind enemy lines, it will end up going down. Peacekeepers are here to help lock down this front line, and Pika may not yet realize that this is an MCV cell. He may see all of these units and get suspicious, but I don't think he actually scouted the main base at the appropriate time to know for sure. If this Apollo walks over the main base, then he will see the emptiness, and it will be all but confirmed. The Vindicator will end up going down. Good transform from the Tengus. Traded one back. MCV on the front line. So even though Pika hasn't sold off his MCV, he is still going all out aggressive with it. The aggression is being matched on both sides, as Pika will back on off. He's aggressively retreating back towards his third. He brought his MCV all the way to the forefront, and then he said, actually, no, I killed that barracks. That's what I wanted. I got what I came for. And now, I'm going to back on off. Now, as long as there is still one dojo, we have the opportunity for tank busters to be a lethal threat in this game. We have seen in previous games, on this map in particular, Empire infantry can get the snowball rolling and just roll over the allied defenses. In this case, There are no allied defenses. That MCV is completely exposed on the low ground. Tengu's going to be coming in. They will be able to start knocking down those Peacekeepers. And the Vindicators might be able to get a couple of kills here. The one Vindicator, rather, might be able to get a couple of kills here. But everything else is completely open and exposed. The Bark does not come off here from the dog. So the Imperial Warriors are all still free to fire on any targets that they find. MCV backs all the way back up to the main base into the protection of the high ground, but the attack doesn't stop coming. This MCV has taken so much damage, and Pika floating 4K because he has no production facilities. He's got an airfield that is already full of units, and the MCV will go down. The GG comes out, and 32 Oil Derricks makes their first meeting not very friendly. And that'll send us to Deep Sea for game number 2. In the north, the Red Allies going to try his hand with the airfield first. This is Pika. Meanwhile, in the south, rocking the purple, give it up for 32 Oil Derricks, no Fog of War, 1v1. Also known as Grey Goo, which is what he signed into this event, the CCO event, as. Online, his name might still be 32 Oil Derricks, no Fog, 1v1. But the name he chose was Grey Goo, which, if you guys remember, was an RTS from Petroglyph around 2013? Yeah, somewhere around there. Kind of a Command and Conquer successor. I played a little bit of it. I casted a little bit of it. Not exactly my thing. But, always great to see an RTS game that people put a lot of time, love, and passion into. But a little bit of a reference to that, I assume. Although I think Grey Goo is itself a reference to, like, nanomachines in a sci-fi setting. So maybe he wasn't actually referencing... Because Grey Goo itself, the name, was a reference to the Grey Goo faction in the series, which is like a nanomachine-based faction or something like that. The goo was like a, apocalyptic scenario kind of thing. Refinery will not be established quickly. If he had a refinery planned, he's going to have to knock down a bunch of walls first. And this is not an MCV cell, at least not just yet, but this is an MCV terror project from Grey Goo, aka 32 Oil Derricks. He is bringing the terror to the Allied side of the map as the Tengus are looking to dogpile onto these air units. They want to camp out over top of that airfield. Tengu going to be looking for the angle to harass, and that is essentially a one harvester economy now for Pika. So the allied player is going to have a tough fight to win from here. Okay, that Apollo does survive. Double airfield for Pika, so he does go for that Mirage tank style double airfield. A lot of allied players have been going for the 2-3 airfields, especially maybe versus Empire, where once you get up to 10, 11, maybe even 12 Apollos, the number of Tengus, even with point defense drones, the number of Tengus that you need to contend with 10 Apollos is ridiculous. The Apollos scale quite well into the later stages of the game. I feel like Pika was trying to go for that third refinery. Now it's been delayed by so long. 32 Oil Derricks has returned back home. He's basically just used the time to build up a ton of Tengus. And while the army value is pretty close between the two players, always keep in mind that 3 grand of that is just these Apollos. So the army value in a fight on the ground is not very close at all, because it's like 10 grand of stuff for 32 Oil Derricks, and then basically $0 worth of stuff for Pika. He's got the Vindicators, got 3 Vindicators, so he can do something. But of course, they drop their load of bombs, and then they return to base. Apollo does absorb a couple of shots there. 2 Vindicators go down. Apollo's looking for the angle on the engagement, trying to make this more of a fair fight, but the Tengus have a tough lesson for the Allied air units to learn, and it's you don't have the numbers. You tried to take a fight You tried to take a fight over top of a base defense and this many Tengus. The Apollos find one more, but they'll trade it back. It may be a 2-for-1 for the allied player. They may have a bit of an advantage there, but he's going to be losing his economy once again. These Apollos are dancing very well in their fight versus the Tengus, but the Harvester is not so good at the tango with these units. The Harvester just gets pushed around. The Apollos, they're able to dance. They're able to pull off the dance steps well enough. They tango with the Tengus just fine, but the Harvester is just he just runs away. He just dies. Now the economy of Pika is once again getting chopped into pieces. Javelin Soldier going to get a couple of shots off here, but once again, Red Alert 3 decides to just freeze. Is it once again at the 5.5 minute mark? What's going on at the 5.5 minute mark that is causing Red Alert 3 replays to just randomly freeze? This is not the typical behavior. And I cast a lot of Red Alert 3 replays, and then there's the GG. That was a tough one for Pika. Almost had a fighting chance there. Kind of gave it away over top of his opponent's base. That attack did not work out well for Pika. And just like that, Pika's almost in the janitor's closet because he's on the verge of being swept out of the lower bracket by 32 oil derricks. The Empire power has just been a little bit too much for the red allied player. No quick third refinery just yet from this Empire player. So it is going to be the triple dojo into the middle of the map and another fast airfield from Pika. He tried this on Battle Base Beta Twisted on Deep Sea, or the new Battle Base Epsilon, as it will be known in 1.12.8. But it did not work, and now he's trying it again. Another fast airfield, 2 Vindicators into an Apollo for the allied player. Vindicators should be able to drop the bombs on that dojo. No sneaky engineer capture for the Empire player, but a sneaky third refinery for 32 oil derricks. He may not get the oil derricks, but he will get the refineries that he's looking for. And the water expansion is on the way for Pika as well. He does have low power mode just briefly here, but I don't think he's actually building anything, so it truly does not matter. But, you know, he will have to build the extra power plant as he gets his third refinery online. 32 oil derricks, similarly, low power mode for just a few seconds as he already had the power plant built and it just wasn't deployed in time before the Mecha Bay came online. So that first Tengu, it's going to be a little bit delayed, but at the cost of getting out a much quicker third refinery. The Defender is here because the Tengus are so delayed compared to what they would be normally. They had to wait for that third refinery to come online before the Mecha Bay actually got produced. Pika deploys the third and is moving on. We may also see a naval yard coming out from our Empire player. We'll see if he chooses to go the Yari mini-sub route and do some harassment, or if he just sticks with the Tengus. Pika, on the other hand, could deploy his own naval yard, maybe even go tier 2, look towards some assault destroyers, and maybe even some dolphins, because he did scout that water expansion very early on. It's going to be a power plant instead. Gets the lights back on so that he can keep that MCV moving if he wants. But both players here in game number 3 happy to open up a little bit slower than in some of those previous games. It was an airfield first for Pika, but it is pretty stable after that. He's not going for a cryo rush. He's not trying to go for a double airfield and bomb out a million Imperial warriors. He got the walls up nice and early so that if his opponent over-indexed into Imperial warriors, it would only be a problem for 32 oil derricks. Pika well defended his first couple of minutes. MCV headed towards that high ground. Naval yard and a second airfield both up and running. This is the Pika that we want to see, even if he does once again have low power mode for just a moment here, as his MCV transitions back onto land and heads up to a potential 4th refinery location. He might be able to complete the little circuit here, have a little 4 refinery setup between the main base, the water expansion, and this other high ground expansion. That's a lot of Tengus out here for the Empire player. Dolphin is going to dodge past that Yari mini-sub and start putting some damage onto the Harvester. But the Harvester will sort of survive forever with the help of the repairs. The Harvester is not under that much threat from just a single Dolphin. Vindicator comes in, the story is a bit different. A second Dolphin comes in, the story is a bit different. Or if the Dolphin does manage to get out of range of the guns, the story is a bit different. Vindicators come in, one of the Apollos gets broken apart by the Tengus of 32 oil derricks, and Pika doesn't yet have the aircraft firepower to win one of those dogfights straight up. He is working on a 6 Apollo cohort that he is building towards with his 2 Vindicators, but he's not there just yet. And if he really wants to go toe-to-toe with this many Tengus, with pure Apollos, he may need to add on a 3rd airfield. I don't know if when point defense drones come in, if 6 Apollos will cut it versus all of these Tengus. At the current moment, the Apollos are not fighting in one concerted front, but neither are the Tengus, as a couple of Tengus will go down, a couple of Apollos will be traded back as well, dangerously close to going down, but these units have mostly survived, and the low health Tengu is going to commit into the attack, cause that Harvester to lose a little bit of mining time, and bring the Vindicators over here to kill off this Tengu. Yari mini-sub moving forward. Riptides are here to respond. Pika ready and waiting. Javelin Soldier is going to be the response, actually, and not the Vindicators, as this Yari mini-sub is hunting for an open target. Might just have to kind of throw himself at this Harvester. If he can get the kill on the Harvester, well, never mind. Obviously, any damage you do when the Naval Yard is that close doesn't matter, because the healing will be so quick from the Naval Yard, which both players have, that it really won't get you anything. So you have to kill the Harvester, otherwise it's just going to heal up. It's not going to be slowed down by any significant margin. Multi-gunner turret is not here, but the point defense drones are, as 2 Apollos get caught by those Tengus. A couple of point defense drones getting burned off in the fight, but this is the big move from 32 oil derricks. He's got the massive Tengu numbers, and now he is finding the weakness in Pika's armor. There is a hole that allows him to get directly into the main base, and with the MCV and the build radius concentrated on the left side of the map, Pika can do nothing to quickly defend this location. He did not deploy a Harvester early. He is trying to hide away from the damage of these Tengus, and he's going to force another Tengu to transform to try and get this Harvester, to finally kill this Harvester. But Pika, he's the one who is hurting more by having 50% of his economy offline. Meanwhile, the Empire Harvesters are working away, working as hard as ever. One of them might be going down here. The freeze should come in, and the rockets will impact. So the IFV gets a kill, and now the Revenge is crossing the map. Will they find their target? The Apollo absorbs a couple of shots there. Javelin Soldiers in the building. A good choice here by Pika. Cryocopter maybe gets caught. The Tengu's getting shredded, but the Apollos will be traded back. No hydrofoils on the low ground. Just an IFV or 2 to try and help out with this fight. Riptide goes down. Javelin Soldiers not close enough to get many shots in on this fight. Vindicators coming through. Apollos as well. Bombs will be dropped. 2 Tengus do pay the price. Point defense drones ready to be reapplied. And the build radius, has it actually survived? No, it has, but the Harvester has not been rebuilt. So once again, Pika's economy is hurting here in game number 3. The Empire players know how to put on the pressure. They know how to knock down bits and pieces of this allied economy until it crumbles from the weight of the attacks. Apollo's moving back in. One Apollo already went down before the fight even started, and 3 more are quick to follow. IFVs are here, but they're a little bit too late. The Empire player is happy to trade a VX for everything that he just got in that exchange. The power plant, the airfield, and 4 Apollos all going down on the Allied side. Meanwhile, this Harvester, it has been rebuilt. The Cryocopter will be putting some damage out, and now the Cryocopter will be getting chased down by these Tengus. They're moving in to intercept. The Hydrofoil was a good choice by Pika, but again, it feels a bit too little, too late. The Chopper VX got the kill on the power plant, was able to transform safely, at least for the moment, and just hanging out, waiting to die. The Peacekeeper will eventually get that kill, but it looks like more IFVs going down. Pika getting run ragged in this game. He needs a win, and he needs a big one. Not just in terms of this game, but also in terms of this series. He is down 0-2, and while he's got a great setup in a lot of ways, his army is getting picked apart. His economy is getting picked apart. He does not have any safe place where he can build up and stabilize. He was doing okay, and then the first big attack headed his way, and he did not have enough time to prepare. He had just bought Tier 2. He had just spent a bunch of cash on his infrastructure on the left side, and he had nothing back home to defend. And now these attacks just don't stop. Emperor's Rage gets activated. The Apollos get shredded. The Tsunami tanks are basically unopposed. A multi-gunner turret comes in, and the Imperial Warriors are happy to help finish the job as the Tsunami tanks just absorb damage, and the multi-gunner turret will go down. Traded for 1 Tsunami tank, but the Tsunami tank also got so much more. Multi-gunner turret will hold the line for a few moments, but you need more units on the ground, and you need them to stop getting exploded by the Tengus. Another Harvester going down to the Cryocopter. That's a good start, but Pika needs more than just one thing going right. As the Vindicators swoop in, a Tsunami tank goes down. 3 Harvesters versus 3 Harvesters. But it's about to be 4 Harvesters versus 3 Harvesters. The Oil Derrick, an additional advantage for 32 Oil Derricks in this game. And didn't we just kill these 2 Tsunami tanks? They're back and ready for action. They're back again. Moments after being destroyed, the attack gets renewed. Guardian tanks taking a lot of damage from the tank busters as they slide into the main base of the Allied player. The Guardians are here to defend, but they're arriving weakened to the front line of the fight. One of them is heroic. One of these Tsunami tanks is heroic, and these Guardian tanks are just getting murdered. 32 Oil Derricks completes the 3-0, and Pika is out of Gathering Storm. And we're back on Infinity Isle for another game number 1. It does feel like we're getting a lot of game 1s on Infinity Isle in the lower bracket of the CCO qualifier. Maybe it's just a noticing effect. Maybe it's people just defaulting to Infinity Isle. On the left side, rocking the orange, once again playing the Soviets, this is SS. And another player you may be familiar with, this is the Purple Allies, the Pale Allies. It's Daki MK, who I think at one point told me in the comments that I'm still not quite saying his name right, but it's been a little while, so I'm defaulting to what I always say. I mean, I'm sure I'm saying SS's name wrong as well, because it probably stands for something. I think he just misplaced that refinery. So he did cancel it and then replace it there. Or he canceled it and replaced it for a different reason. But given that's his second refinery, I think he just misclicked it a little bit there. Airfield does come out for Daki, but it looks like it was after 2 refineries. It looks like he was not going for a super fast airfield rush, so the early game won't be disrupted for either player by any kind of super early allies. Okay, and he's packing up his MCV. So he's not even going cryocopters immediately after, getting his normal setup. It is just a little bit of a gentleman's handshake agreement, and they're actually both heading to the high ground as well. They're not even going for any kind of water expansion. We do have the reactor out here on the water for SS, so he can do... Is it 2 or 3? I think it's just 2 reactors. If you place them correctly, you can base crawl to the water refinery. You can also throw out a super reactor, airfield, or a naval yard out there if you have those sorts of plans and use that as part of your base crawl to over there. Vindicator's going to be coming in. He will get a little bit of cash back, so even if the bullfrogs go down, it does... Ooh, 3 bullfrogs going down, though. Multi-gunner turret getting a last kill. Bears coming in, they roar, and they lock down 2 of the peacekeepers, but the second bear gets all of the dogs as well. Sickle goes down to the Vindicator, but a terror drone spawns in as well. The terror drone causing some potential problems, but everything is walled off. So this terror drone is just feeling a little bit silly. Bears get the lockdown, and the conscripts get the kills. 2 Vindicators, 2 Bears. I guess there are 3 Vindicators, but they clean up the Bears that were body blocking the ore refinery location, and I guess this is a complete wash. There was a little bit of cashback coming in for the Soviet player, so he did make a little bit of money off of some of those losses. But other than killing off the peacekeepers and the multi-gunner turret, he did not accomplish very much. The ore refinery was not delayed by all that much. He really hasn't done too much to disrupt the Allied build. Never mind, the Allies are just... Daki is heading right for the front line. This is going to be an MCV move. No cryocopters, just 4 Vindicators for the purple side. We, of course, do have the classic Allied turret push coming in, and the terror drone was too slow to actually lock down the Conyard. Moments away from being able to stasis that Conyard. But it's going to be an MCV cell, and he's coming in with the engineer. Peacekeeper moves forward, and the MCV will get locked down. The engineer will make a run for it. The Bears stop the peacekeepers, and a second terror drone is here. The Vindicators should be able to clean this up. It will be worth them sacrificing themselves as long as they get a kill on this terror drone. And, okay, the terror drone actually just backs off completely, and the bullfrogs take all of the shots. The last one comes through, and the Vindicator finally gets the kill, but that is 3 Vindicators down. A huge loss for the Allied player, and he basically just got his MCV back. At the end of the day, he will be able to save the MCV. He did kill off that terror drone. That terror drone, the 2 terror drone combo where 1 stasises and 1 infects, can be absolutely brutal to work with. The bear will help shut down this barracks, but not for long. Harvester going to be getting infected as well. The MCV will deploy in time, so it can't be stopped a second time. Peacekeeper's going to try and deal with the bullfrogs. Vindicators come in. The Vindicators all surviving for now. Last one may go down right on the edge of range there as the Vindicator falls. And the Bears have mostly locked down these Peacekeepers. Shields coming out, but this Harvester has fallen as well. Daki striking a couple of minor victories, but taking some heavy, heavy losses. SS's biggest loss so far in this game, his MCV, was self-inflicted. He does have the super reactor out there, but no crane. So if he wants to get back in the game in terms of build queue, he's going to have to do it with that war factory, and that will cause a lot of problems for him. Daki was delayed, but will it lose SS the game? He may have delayed the attack, but now he's got to play with no MCV, and the GG comes out. SS has been defeated. Daki failed the turret push, but still won the game. And that will take us to Deep Sea for game number 2. It's another Soviet in the north. This is SS. And in the south, still rocking the purple, but playing Empire, switching it up. This is Daki. Lands on Deep Sea, ends up as Empire, which means we get 2 different matches, 2 different maps, 2 different, I guess 1 match, but 2 different games, 2 different maps, 2 different matchups with the Soviets versus Empire here. We'll see if SS fares a little better here. because that MCV cell was almost brilliant, and if he would have been able to keep the allied MCV on that side, the Bears earning the cash back, and he gets the cash back on the dojo as well, so he's making a little bit of profit in some sense. What a mess of a fight there, and it ends up with one flak trooper left over just waltzing around. He's gonna look to try and shut down this dojo. He's gonna have to run for his life. He will trade for the mine and let the conscripts get the kill. The engineer has slow walked himself all the way across the map and is gonna grab this oil derrick. There's nothing to stop him. Are you kidding me? SS builds an extra engineer, slow walks it to the other side, goes for a crane into a super reactor as well. So this is a pretty aggressive version of the Tesla Rush build, where you skip that second refinery and you get your super reactor out that much quicker. I don't know that you normally spend the extra cash on the additional infantry and the engineer, but I guess it has confused Daki. Did it delay the Mecha Bay? I feel like it delayed the Mecha Bay by a few, and he's gone tier 2 on the Mecha Bay immediately, which is kind of good because it'll give him access to VXs right away. But also, it means he hasn't built anything with the Mecha Bay before the 2-minute and 45-second mark. And this is what you need. The flak cannon was started first, so SS makes the right call of going for the flak cannon before the Tesla coil. And what you can do behind that, well, never mind, because he sold off his MCV and he managed to get down 2 barracks as well. I don't even know what his plan is here. The VXs have abandoned ship. They're heading back to the other side, but they've been spotted, and it takes them so long to be able to cross the map that the flak cannon will be done in time. This is costing both players quite a lot. This MCV needs to run down this engineer and stop him from stealing that war factory, but as soon as the MCV turns around, the engineer can pop back out, and it'll be up to the tsunami tank to get the actual kill. The build radius has been maintained for the current moment by the Soviet player on the other side of the map, and now he can make a run for this war factory. He's actually gonna get it. The war factory can't be stopped. He's too late. He has to force the sell off. He gets the sale, and now the engineer avoids the crush for a few moments. The cost stop down. The Tesla trooper with the stasis will lock down that MCV, but the bonsai charge gets the kill. So close to greatness here for SS. He almost pulls off a brilliant kind of something. What kind of goofy strategy is this even? He's now stuck with a barracks on one side of the map. He has the crane, and he knocked down the Mecha Bay, but it was $1,000 back into the hands of Daki. So I don't know where we stand. It feels like Daki should have the advantage here, but he spent the extra cash on the tier 2, and then he had to sell off that war factory. So picking off this harvester is a great start. Killing off the oil derrick a few moments ago was a good choice as well, and these flak troopers have not been able to adequately defend that harvester. Tsunami tanks are still here. If the micro is good from Daki, he will crush a lot of these flak troopers and get the kills with the tsunami tanks. If the micro is lacking, then these flak troopers will be able to shred those tsunami tanks, and they will get very little value. Going for the refinery, always nice to try and do as much as you can, and now the strikers have to transform. The VXs, have they just abandoned these tsunamis in the face of a twin blade? And here comes the crush as the GG will come out. Daki will win 2 in a row. He gets the goofy win on Infinity Isle, and he gets the goofy win on Deep Sea. And that'll send us to Epicenter Island for the match point game. On the left side, feeling good with a win on Allies and a win on Empire. This is Daki. And on the right side, rocking the red, playing the Soviets, it's SS. Going crane first, and this is the more traditional, I guess, crane first opener that we are expecting to see. And Super Reactor is going to be the immediate follow-up. So This is the version of the Tesla coil push that I think we're more likely to see more often, and this is the perfect map for it. Empire players love going for that super fast 3 refineries. They love going for that greedy opener. And right now, Daki is realizing what is going to happen. The MCV is nearing the 50% mark of its journey, and Daki is like, okay, we have got a Tesla coil push to defend against, and the Mecha Bay still hasn't even finished up. Third refinery, that looks great. Mecha Bay not looking so good. Power plant and the Mecha Bay both going to be coming online right here at the 1 minute 50 second mark, and it would be great to build, I don't know, some tank busters, but the Bears have just completely neutralized everything coming out of the barracks, and a lot of times that is what you see, the Bear and the Imperial Warrior, the bonsai charge of the Imperial Warrior neutralizing the Bear, and the Bear neutralizing the Imperial Warrior. So you never get that extra bit of defense. You never get that extra bit of damage to come in. MCV going to be packing up. That's a flak cannon and a Tesla coil at the same time. The MCV is not being sold off this time, and there are 2 working barracks all set up, and the Tesla trooper can go for the lockdown as well. He pulls off to kill the power plant Imperial Warrior also, because the other Imperial Warriors haven't been able to break through the front line. Engineer going to run for it. The Imperial Warrior gets zapped, and the Tesla trooper is going to let that engineer do nothing because the MCV, or because the Mecha Bay gets sold off. And that is the desired outcome. I guess the really desired outcome is that you capture the Mecha Bay and then you can sell it off, but 99% of the time that doesn't happen because the other player will sell it off at the last second regardless. So that is a big win for SS, and he needs a big win here. He's moved his MCV up to the high ground, going to harass this refinery location as well, gonna deploy an additional barracks also, and the Harvester has gone out for the attack. This Harvester is now a part of the army. He's no longer living a life of making money, of keeping the Empire floating. Instead, he is troops on the ground. He is guns in the air, and that will do it. SS picks up his win, and Daki will take his first loss of the series. And just like that, your fortunes can turn around that quick. A Tesla coil push can almost always result in a short game, but sometimes it's just those 3 minutes that can change everything. And looking to repeat that, he'd like another win, and he'd like it quick. This is SS. Okay, we'll see if it works out. But in the South, sticking with Empire. He's got a win with Empire. He's got a loss with Empire. This is Daki. In Game 5, will he choose to go back to Allies, the old faithful? It might just be map dependent. Some players are that way, but good to see Daki mixing things up. He gets a win with Allies. He's getting a win with Empire. Gets a loss with Empire as well. And his spider sense may be tingling, but we do not have a particularly quick Mecha Bay. It is coming out now. I think that is a few seconds earlier than it was in the previous game, and it certainly should be because he went for a third refinery in that last game. Burst Drone will slow down this MCV as well, so a little bit of a delay there. And these Imperial Warriors pushing the Flaks and the Bears back quite a bit. Not quite going to be able to get the Flak Troopers just yet, as the Burst Drone has been cleaned up now. But SS is also missing his oil derrick. He has not captured that, so $500 cash back, little bit of cash in his pocket. Has not materialized just yet. And the Imperial Warriors continuing to come through in good numbers. They're pretty much always happy to trade with the more expensive Bears when they are going for these one-for-one trades. If you don't get the roar, the lockdown from the roar, then you're just losing a little bit of cash. That's where the cashback bounty can be a bit beneficial if you're losing a bunch of units, but in general, you do want to have that better trading pattern regardless when you've got the more expensive units. A second burst drone. I forgot to check the timing on the Mecha Bay, but we're up to tier 2. First VX is now out, and it's basically out at the same time that all these buildings start. And the MCV is repositioning, so the flak cannon started immediately, but the Tesla coil or a second barracks have not started. Sometimes you will see them dropped down together. This flak cannon might just die before it can actually be finished building. It'll get a couple of shots off down below half HP, and then there's going to be the shutdown, the lockdown from this Tesla trooper right onto that MCV. And there is a generator nearby to sell off and turn it into an Imperial Warrior, but for now that MCV is just sitting there useless, not able to crush anything. Tengu is going to come in and save the MCV. Flak cannon finishes up for this Soviet player, and it looks like the engineer has captured the Soviet oil derrick as well, so the income is starting to stabilize. VX goes down, but Tengu manages to escapes the crush of the MCV and escapes the flak cannon as well. Okay, I thought are they swinging out to go harass? Is he really going to go harass at this time, at this point? There might be nothing back home. A couple of flak troopers moving into position. This might be a perfect two-prong harass where you just knock down both of the harvesters and stop them from being able to do anything. The MCV has stepped way too far outside of the flak cannon protection zone, and he crushes a Tengu, but that just guarantees the kill. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, it's going to be flak troopers and conscripts trying to deal with these Tengus. Slowly but surely, that harvester will go down. The bears and the flak troopers going down to the tsunami tank, but the harvester getting eliminated. Another flak trooper going down, but goodbye to the tsunami tank, as the only thing that survives are the VXs. On the other side of the map, it looks like the Tengus did go down. The flak troopers able to deal with them eventually. Both oil derricks under the control of the Soviet player for the current moment, and that's a fully heroic VX, so that guy can tank a lot more damage and heal up off of it compared to a normal VX. The harassment on the other side of the map has stopped. The barracks is getting targeted immediately. Refinery forced to sell off before the Tesla coil can even finish up, and it does get canceled. Only one building at a time because of this crane. He cancels the barracks on the other side so that he can afford an airfield. So with the build radius gone, with the barracks chain coming to an end, that's the end of the attack as well. SS, he has the better economy, double oil derrick, double refinery, but not for long. As soon as this oil derrick goes down, he will have a bit less of an advantage, but he doesn't have an MCV. He is locked down to this single build queue, and as long as he can hold off this big wave of the attack. But does he sell his MCV and get a cash boost to go for an all-in attack, or does he try to rebuild this refinery and then maybe sell his MCV? He's close enough to getting point defense drones that keeping the MCV around has a big benefit. Man, that VX going heroic makes such a difference for the Empire Army. Never having to go back for repairs. You get the bonus damage, the bonus attack speed from the upgrade. And now the tsunami tanks moving in. Once again, if the tsunami tanks... Wait, where are the flak troopers? There have to be flak troopers somewhere, right? It's not just one twin blade and one MiG. As the MiG comes in, gets blasted immediately. Flak troopers inside of the twin blade. There they are. And they all go down to the honorable discharge. Only the Tesla trooper remains. And that was the army for SS. It was all inside of the twin blade. And Daki gets the win. Daki gets the kill. And SS will drop out of the Gathering Storm qualifier. Daki moves on to the next round. And welcome to Epicenter Island for Game 1 of the last best of 5 of this video. We're jumping into the next round after this, but we need to finish up round 3 in the best of 5s from the qualifier. Kicking it off as the Cyan Empire on the left side. This is Tsar. And is he is not going fast 3 refineries. Meanwhile, on the right side, he loves his crane first open. This is green alert. Is it going to work out versus a player who doesn't go fast 3 refineries? I guess it can if you go fast 3 refineries. So this is interesting. The Empire players, who normally love opening 3 refineries on this map, have instead decided to opt for Mecha Bay instead of 3rd refinery. And Green Alert goes Crane into a 3rd refinery. So he does go Super Reactor. He's immediately going for the big power-up. He's not looking for the faster Bullfrogs or Sickles or Terror Drones, nothing like that. He wants to stay on his side of the map, and he's like, the oil derrick is nice and easy to capture over here. The 3rd refinery is relatively easy to defend, and he is going to roll the dice on the much, much slower War Factory, but on getting out his economy much, much sooner. War Factory replaced. Okay, so he does go for the War Factory, but he does not want to keep it where it was. Places it slightly differently, and of course this does cause some problems in the early game. Tengu's starting to harass everywhere. Czar is not looking to give Green Alert some kind of a free win. Sentry Gun's still a long way away from finishing because Green Alert has eco problems. He's just gonna crush his MCV. He doesn't have economy problems anymore, but he does have a problem with all these units inside his base. This Sentry Gun forcing the Tengu to relocate. He just went to a different spot, a slightly different spot. And now the Bears are coming out, hammer tanks as well, to force away these Empire units, and any kind of tank busters that come at it from this point forward are going to be pretty much shut down by the Bears for the current moment. VX now rolling into the base, going to be targeting down these hammer tanks, and of course because he went hammers first and no bullfrogs, there's no defense against the VX. The bullfrog should be popping out just now to help deal with this, and there's going to be a building to try and block off those rocket shots to allow the bullfrog to get the damage done early. The conscript might get the last shot. Oh, the bullfrog buddy going for the body block, but no, it won't happen, or maybe it will. The conscript getting shot out of the sky by the VX rockets. Are you kidding me? And now maybe the leech beam is the only thing with long enough range. A furious fight over almost nothing as that VX has so little HP. Czar keeping his units alive, but just barely. A little bit of luck and a little bit of judicious control, Czar manages to win out, it feels like, pretty big in the first 4 minutes of this game. He has limited his economy to do it, but he hasn't sold his MCV. He's kept his MCV around, and he has a pretty powerful army to work with. It's not a free win from this point forward. Green Alert has stabilized now with all of his units hanging around his main base. VXs are actually being spotted here on the high ground. They can't be seen unless you toss something up there to reveal, to give you vision onto that high ground. Ooh, a little bit of a mistake there, letting this bear just chew up some tank busters for free. But Czar will cut off that attack path now, and a refinery is being added on to the high ground. VX is moving in as soon as that army got displaced, and now the crane is gone. No more build queue for the Soviet player. The Bullfrog gets jumped on immediately, and these VXs surely can find some kind of an angle of weakness, even if it's just the oil derrick. They're going to try and jump on the sentry gun and then go for the escape and let the flak cannon just claim 2 lives. That Bullfrog shows up a little too late, but the terror drone gets a kill on the other side of the map. Czar and Green Alert just going at it, fist fighting for the first 5 minutes of the game, constantly trying to find any and every advantage that they can. The Tengu goes down, the hammer tank gets the kill, but the crane still is not answered. And what are you going to do? Rebuild an MCV from this point? You have to make the defense perfect because you're not going to cross the map while you're building an MCV. You're going to have to do it all from your side of the map and let the Empire player just take over. Tengus go for the transform, another harvester offline. In theory, Green Alert has had a pretty stable economy, but he has been harassed so consistently throughout this game that it doesn't even feel like he's had a 3 refinery economy for much of it. These VXs might actually get trapped. Terror Drone going to be coming in, looking for one of them. Forces the late transform. The Bullfrogs were able to close the distance, and I don't think I've ever seen a VX explode that quickly as he tries to take to the air, and he just gets annihilated. Terror Drone going to be locking down another Tengu, and this well, these hammer tanks are just, I guess they're having a powwow. They are not worried about this Tengu at all. Okay, the Tengu is now going to start attacking. I don't know what was going on there. Both units were like set to hold fire stance or something. As the walls come up around that refinery, the Harvester has been rebuilt, and the MCV is back on the field. Green Alert has weathered the storm. He has kept his units on his side of the map, and he has lost a lot in terms of economy, but he is now stabilizing with his own MCV, with his own build queue, back in the mix. Hammer tanks up to the high ground. Terror Drone will help get the lockdown, and I think we can sort of just transition into a normal game from here. Like, both players have tier 2. They've got 3 refineries. Czar is going for tier 3. It's the 7.5 minute mark. This is actually kind of just fine. We got there in a very weird way with 5 minutes of constant fist fighting, but we got there, and now I feel like both players have an opportunity. Killing off a couple of hammer tanks would certainly be nice, but these VXs have not been invincible. They have gone down in a number of places. In those first couple of scraps and engagements, Czar managed to keep like everything alive, barely escaping with a single HP, but since then, Green Alert has found a lot of kills. He has evened up the army quite a bit. And yeah, the army value is a little bit deceptive in the same way that army value for allied players can sometimes be deceptive, just the pure army value by itself. That was actually the economy graph. But because the Apollos can throw it off a little bit there. Hammer, another Harvester going to be going down, and another Harvester going to be going down. Nope, dodges the satellites. This ain't Mers Landing, buddy. You got to be more accurate with your satellite drops, but that Harvester did a good job of dodging that. Terror Drone, I think, trying to sneak up onto the high ground, will get spotted by the Wave Force artillery, and these Bullfrogs, they can sometimes inflate the army value. If you've got 4 or 5 or 6 Bullfrogs, it can look like you've got a higher quality army than you actually do, but of course Bullfrogs only shoot up, so if everything's on the ground, they don't make much of a difference. Artillery advantage is very real. Twin blades are the typical way that you combat that, and the airfield is ready to go here. Green Alert now going to be set up with his 4 refineries, and somehow in the mix of all of that, the oil derricks didn't go down on either side. So I thought for sure Czar was going to be able to find that kill on the oil derrick, but he wasn't. Bears come through. A Roar lands on a couple of tank busters, but the rest of the Bears do go down. King Oni on the front line, going to be holding back the front line of the Soviet player. Stasis will come in. The King Oni will start to lose a little bit of life. That's a good roar, with almost all of the Empire infantry getting locked down by a single big roar. Wave Force artillery going to be ready to fire a couple of shots. Needs to start actually landing on these hammer tanks to cut down the Soviet numbers, or maybe even on the MCV to do a big chunk of damage. Tengu's get a kill. Twin Blade is no more. MCV rushing to the front line, gets a couple of tank busters, but now is going to be taking big damage. He's hoping to run that Wave Force artillery off of the front line. Hammer tanks still just leeching away at this King Oni. Tengu's coming in. Point defense drones as well as the King Oni goes down. The MCV down to about half HP, and now it's just Tengu's on the front line. The hammer tanks have stayed out of range for so long. They're now getting blasted by this Wave Force artillery, and there's the transform as the Tengus go down. So does the Twin Blade. One hero tank buster will go down to the Terror Drone as the Imperial Warrior gets the kill back for his Terror Drone killing friend. Wave Force artillery staying out of range of absolutely everything. The main firepower on the ground is the MCV, which is a crushing threat to everything on the Empire side. And now this Imperial Warrior picks up 2-3 kills as he clears out the Bullfrogs, and the Tengus can fly free. Wave Force Artillery needs one more shot. He's not gonna get it. This MCV is out on the water with no hope of crushing the second MCV to go down for Green Alert. Another Twin Blade comes in. Another Twin Blade goes down. The crash down will not save Green Alert as the Soviets will drop at a game number 1. It was a hard-fought victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. In the northern position of Chrysobero Garden, rocking the cyan, this is Czar. And down here to the south, this is Green Alert. He's going for his patented Green Alert Crusher Crane opener. Lots of walls around these harvesters to defend them for now. Super reactor as well. It's worked in lots of games. I feel like even in the very first game in the BattleNet qualifier that I was casting from Green Alert, I feel like he went for this build as well, and he just got some early wins, but it hasn't always worked out well for him. In the last game, he did go for a fast 3 refineries. It was not a Tesla coil push. In this game, it's looking a little bit more like it's a Tesla coil push. There is a 3rd refinery you can take up there on the high ground, but it is not one that Green Alert is interested in. This has been fully scouted by Czar. He had the burst drone on the MCV right from the very beginning, so he knows what is up. He's kept a safety barracks back there at home, so he can send the early dojos out. He can grab his oil derrick. He can contest the early game, but he's got a safety barracks back in his main base as well, a little bit further away from the stream of bears that is coming in. No bonsai charge for 2 of those Imperial Warriors, so they actually just go down. That was a great exchange for Green Alert. He cleared out so many Imperial Warriors basically for free, which means instead of the Imperial Warriors trading favorably for the Empire play and a few tank busters being left over after the fact, there's just nothing left over in the terms of infantry for the Empire player. Flak Cannon is finished up before the first VX can take to the skies, and this harvester is one and done. That's a good that's a good kill. Oh, that would have been massive, but the engineer gets stopped as well. A huge win there for Green Alert. That almost turned the game around, as Green Alert's attack would have been dead in the water without that super reactor to anchor it back at home. Green Alert furiously controlling on both sides of the map, and knocking down the Crusher Crane would be nice. It would limit the options that Green Alert has, but it doesn't stop the MCV, who's already got this high ground position. VX gets forced onto the ground in an unfavorable spot. These flak troopers can run down that VX and cause even more problems for the Empire player. This is how it's supposed to go. This is what Soviet players dream of when they're looking for these games, when they're looking for these crane openers into Tesla coil pushes. Flak cannon on the backside of the mecha bay as well, forcing this VX to go the extra distance and keeping the flak cannon safe for an extra couple of moments. Additional flak cannon getting started. Where's the second VX? One of them already died on the other side of the map. Flak troopers not in position to defend against that Tengu, and that's going to be the sell-off of the MCV. The Tengu can kill this engineer barely fast enough, gets that Ingi, and now this is not going the way. That was an intimidation roar, by the way. This is not going the way that Green Alert would have wanted. He has gotten the build radius. He has been able to maintain that with the barracks, and now the Tesla coil has finished up. So he lost the engineer, but he got the cash back from selling off the MCV, and now the main base is dead for the Empire player. He literally has to sell it off as the Tesla coil goes and clears everything out. War Factory only just now finishing up. Green Alert has a little bit of cash left over from the MCV sell, and he is low power mode, which is not what I was expecting. So it is sell off the stuff on the high ground to clear out that electricity bill and bring himself back online. He's got build radius on the other side of the map, so he can also take an expansion over there if he really wants to, but sickles, terror drones, flak cannons, hammer tanks, all going to really open things up, and the GG comes out. Green Alert gets the win Had a little bit of a mess in the middle there, but he got it done. This is the satellite crash down field of Mers Landing. This is where the satellites go to die. And this is where one player will overcome the other to gain that match point advantage. You don't win the series, but you do have that extra breathing space. You break the tie, and you get maybe a little bit of momentum. We'll see if it's the guy who loves his crane first openers. This is Green Alert. Meanwhile, in the south, rocking the Blue Empire. He had a furious fist fight, but he did end up losing. This is Czar. He has decided that the Mecha Bay first is the way to go. And of course, he's got his normal double refinery setup, but no more than that. You don't need 3 refineries. Mers Landing is a bit more exposed down here on the bottom, on the low ground. He is going to try and steal his opponent's oil derrick, though. So this is the advantage that he's hoping to get. Imperial Warrior will come out, clear out the bear. And now the Engineer should be safe to jump in. Okay, he's going another Imperial Warrior. He should get the Engineer at some point to... He's going to... is this... I don't know that this is going to work, but he's not getting his own oil derrick. So on top of this, Czar is... Oh, this is not what I was expecting. Sudden transport. It's not for an MCV cell. Okay, no, it's not for an MCV cell. He is actually just keeping his dojo inside of his base. So instead of deploying the dojo out here at the oil derrick, which you can still keep around, and a number of Empire players do decide to do that, they go for that oil derrick on the low ground. MCV gets crushed into the crane, so it is 3 refineries into a cash boost. No walls on the low ground, so this is very vulnerable to an Imperial Warrior charge. A gun charge, not a bonsai charge. But both players ended up just grabbing their own oil derricks. So, yeah, it's happened at like the 2.5-minute mark instead of the 45-second mark, which is probably when it should have happened. But instead of one guy getting both of them, they both got their own just later. And of course, the other advantage of the crane first into super reactor opening is that you've got hammer tanks from the moment that your war factory finishes up, because your war factory has been delayed so much. Flak cannon just for the added safety. Engineer. Is this a bonus engineer? Is this an MCV cell engineer? This harvester is a little bit too slow. The conscript might get the kill. No, he doesn't. And it's not even an MCV cell engineer. That's a regular old engineer. The build radius has been maintained very carefully there by Green Alert. So he did manage to preserve a bit of an advantage by going for that barracks nice and early, and the Bullfrog can't crush, so the Engineer will jump inside of that oil derrick. No problemo, and the Tengus have not found a big angle into the main base just yet. Tengu clears out a bear down there on the water, and a 3rd refinery is coming in for the Empire player. Terror Drone, I think, is going to be a little bit too late to the party to do anything about it. And this is, I mean, hammer tanks don't go out onto the water, so this is a potential advantage for the Empire player going out there. But of course, you don't have walls, so if you don't have a naval yard, then a single terror drone can shut you down very easily. So naval yard might be an essential part of the puzzle, or always keeping a couple of Tengus nearby. Oil derrick will be reclaimed by Green Alert. 3rd base down, or 3rd refinery there on the low ground. And the hammer tanks are in the middle. Both players turning into a bit of a weird game, but I think we can stabilize from here, and we can have a pretty normal match. Are these hammer tanks going to just get to walk up into the main base? There is tier 2 on the Mecha Bay, so the Tengus can be joined by some VXs, by some Tsunami tanks, but for the current moment, that hasn't happened. Bears haven't gotten any big kills on the Tank Busters, so the Tank Busters are quite powerful. The Bears body blocking, getting body blocked by the Tengus, and the Bear will go down. Hammer Tank gets the crush, finally gets the two Tank Busters that he's been looking for. Terror Drone will infect one of those Tengus, but not the sudden transport, which is way out there on the water. Nothing suspicious about that. Nothing to see here, as the hammer tank will just be flying its way over the water as another engineer, I assume, is inside of that sudden transport. Green alert. He has pulled things back a little bit, just now going for the airfield, maybe a little bit late, but he's got both of the oil derricks as well. So at some point, he did manage to steal away his opponent's oil derrick, and now Czar is maybe going for his own oil derrick. I don't know what's going on with these oil derricks in this game. He's gonna steal it back. He's not even getting the one on his side of the map. So now they both have each other's oil derricks. They've got 3 refineries working away, and the Bears are looking for those tank busters yet again. Tank busters down into the ground. It's only bullfrogs here, so they could pop up and try and snipe that terror drone as it exits, but the Tengus will once again knock down the bear, not let it get on top of those Empire tank busters. Point defense drones come in as well, and this is where the MCV is wishing that he could drop toxins or use even a satellite drop, do something to disrupt the front line of the Empire player, because toxins on top of tank busters, who cares if they go down into their hidey hole? As the Soviet player, you are fine with that. Terror drone shows up. Tengu can get the kill if he's careful, or he might just end up getting infected himself. And Czar doing a good job of locking down this expansion, defending it well. Are there 2 sudden transports? No, it looks like there's just one. It's just been traveling around quite a lot. That guy's getting his steps in today for sure. And both players have reclaimed their own oil derricks. So I think we have spent more money on engineers capturing oil derricks over the course of the 7 minutes of this game than either one of the oil derricks has generated for its own owner. At one point being controlled by both oil derricks being controlled by one player, but now Green Alert is just rolling up to the base with a very classic Soviet combo: hammer tanks, bullfrogs, and twin blades. It's got a lot of firepower, but it can be torn apart by the Empire infantry. Without the bears to act as a front line against the tank busters, you can be in an awkward situation where the micro of the tank busters is a little bit unmatched, where the tank busters do a ton of damage. In this case, everyone's going to back off. Twin blades trying to move in, bullfrogs trying to defend the twin blades, as the twin blades will get the kill on that oil derrick. Hammer tank's going to be backing off as well, and for now, both sides happy to just disengage. Terror drone gets the infect over there at the 3rd refinery. You can rebuild the MCV from here, or you can also go Sputnik for the expansion if you want to try and take a 4th refinery as the Soviet player. Hammer tanks moving in. Can they actually get any crush? First hammer tank goes down. Everyone's committed into the attack as the Tengus are going for the transform. Point defense drones comes in, and the twin blades will be now over top of the battle. Only one thing that shoots up, and now it's dead. So the VX is no more able to defend this Empire army. The twin blades having a field day, killing off those tank busters. A bullfrog goes down. The Tengus mostly defended against, and the twin blades come back in. They claim another couple of kills. The VXs have been rebuilt, and the hammer tanks pushing forward, but the bears looking for the big roar. There's going to be the sudden transport onto the front line just to absorb some damage, and this Empire army crushing the hammer tanks in front of it. They will rout Green Alert and send him packing. How many sudden transports is this guy gonna build? Bullfrogs largely escaping the wrath of the Empire army, and with the Crusher Crane, you get the free repairs as well back at home. 2 VXs! Oh, huge catch there by Green Alert. 2 VXs for free. Once again, the ground army of Czar needs its anti-air support, and for the last battle, half of the time they didn't have any anti-air. They didn't have any way to shoot up. Tengus in the sky, bullfrogs on the ground. Those 2 things favor the Soviet player generally, although sometimes you get such a big group of Tengus that you can clear out the twin blades and then transform on top of the bullfrogs. Always fun to see a Soviet player kill his own unit, but of course it was a sudden transport. And Harvester getting rebuilt out here on the water. Terror drone ready in case that Tengu steps away. Twin blades the unit of choice for Green Alert. He's drawing a 0 on the bank account quite a lot of this time. He is spending every dollar that he's got, and most of it is on air units. 3 MiGs, 4 MiGs moving out. He wants to go out over the water and see if he can find a winning fight there. Tengus don't want to fight bullfrogs and MiGs. They can kill the twin blades, and that would be good, but in this case, will they want to sacrifice themselves? No, Zar decides, I'm not going to defend this location. The Harvester goes down, the Tengu goes down, and this twin blade could actually stay there just to make sure that the Harvester doesn't get rebuilt so easily. MiG's going to get a VX. They don't transform in time. Zar not able to keep that VX alive, and now the VX is just dying to the sentry gun. A couple of critical mistakes here. The Tengus, the infantry army is largely moved out as the Tengus move in to defend, but the Tengus, if they only kill 1 or 2 of these twin blades, the twin blades are happy to trade that out. King Oni picks up a kill on a bullfrog, and the MiGs fly over top of this Empire army. It's got an extra engineer with it because the MCV got sold off. This army will be able to do some damage, but there's also a sentry gun here, and the engineer gets sniped. Zar, with some mistakes and some missteps, he lost 2 harvesters in short order, one after the other, and he hasn't even gotten this harvester back online because of the terror drone that's camping out at that location. Wave Force artillery gets clobbered, and Green Alert is cleaning up game number 3. The tiebreaker feels broken open as the Tengus catch a couple of kills in the middle of the map, but that doesn't matter all that much. Green Alert has 3 refineries and an oil derrick working away. The twin blades might get caught. Tengus could find their way back into the game. Can Zar find the road to victory? The MiGs moving in. They catch another VX. The twin blade cleans up the one on the ground, and the bullfrogs get a couple of extra kills as well. The Tengus nearly finding a winning engagement, but Green Alert turns it around, and the GG comes out as Zar will drop from game number 3, and Mers Landing goes to the Soviets. And that'll take us to Infinity Isle, game number 4 on the classic map. Of course, rocking the Empire, this is Zar. Some hard-fought games, but he has slipped down in the score for the series. And can we go all the way with the cranes? It's working, so why change it? This is Green Alert. Yeah, I can't believe how much of a resurgence the crane openers have had, mostly from Green Alert. We happen to be catching a lot of Green Alert games in both the Battle.net qualifier and now here in the CCO qualifier, but a handful of other Soviet players have been doing the same thing, and like I've said, it's not always a Tesla coil push. It is probably 75, maybe 80% of the time it's a Tesla coil push, and then some percentage of the time it's just an expansion and into a regular game, and you're kind of hoping that you can play a little greedy in the early game and then work off of that. But I feel like Harlan went for a couple of crane openers as well, and we saw SS go for it also. There have been a number of Soviet players who have managed to make it work. Mecha Bay is up and running, and it is, I think, straight into Tier 2 once again. Dojo there in the main base. That is way far back, but he missed the power plant. That's kind of one of the differences here, is that the power plant was late, so Zar has been in low power mode, and now he's going to be stuck in low power mode. He does sell off the barracks there. He's very, very close to getting the lights online, but without selling this barracks here in the main base, he will not have the lights online. He's supposed to have 2 power plants for this build. He only has 1. His production is slow. His Tier 2 still hasn't finished. It's turning into a disaster because now the MCV is ready to crush anything that emerges. He's not going to try and rely on the Tesla Trooper trick. And there's the sell-off of the barracks, so he's back to 170 and GG. A disaster there for Zar in game number 4. A tough way to go out of the qualifier, and a tough game to end the series on the video on as well. A huge thank you to Edvin for helping to referee the CCO qualifier. A big shout out to the players for participating. Huge thanks to Tim and MediaStorm for sponsoring this event. Drive for the design, Double Evil for the overlay, and thank you, of course, for watching. None of this would happen without the viewers watching at home, and this is Cyber signing out.